shut up, you Americans. You always talk, you Americans. You talk and you talk and you say, let me tell you something, and I just want to say this. Well, you're dead now, so shut up.
There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that.
Good morning. Today is Monday, July 29th. Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. This is the Sludge Report edition, and I will say this may be the most important Sludge Report I've done thus far because of the headline you're seeing in front of you. Mass shooting at Garlic Fest, 6-year-old among dead, dozens injured, terror in California, confusion, panic. Of course, we have that every day. There it is in fire alarm red for us. I'm really angry. That's the fruit of this. Angry. I don't know who said that yet. But anyway, why is this one of the most important, if not the most important, Sludge Report that I've made? First of all, I want to do a little housekeeping here. I wasn't going to do a video, except maybe just on Sundays. Maybe one other one. And then I thought yesterday, actually, maybe I won't even broadcast it. I'll just accumulate them. I'll just do one article a day. Not even live, it might as well be live. I don't intend to go back and do any editing or anything fancy other than putting it all together at the end of the week, throwing it in Movie Maker or something like that, just seaming it all together and then putting it up there. It's the most important one because actually I believe the impetus for starting Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories was vaguely, but probably the shooting at the mass shooting at the bar in Thousand Oaks, California, if you remember that one. Yeah, if you remember that one. Wasn't even a year ago. And, there's so many and it's so often and you kind of, okay, which one was it? Kind of forget. Well, that was the one where it was like a country western bar. Most of the people there, it was their second mass shooting event. Most of them had been at the Las Vegas shooting. I'm trying to think of what the term. Every one of these has their like you've got Parkland, you've got Sandy Hook, you've got just names for them. Going all the way back to Columbine, probably even further. Excuse me. And the reason that I wanted to do start a channel and make a little mini doc, if you will, is because in looking at that one, and looking at nearly every single one of them, I discovered myself things that I had not seen any other person put out there, indicating that it was a pre-planned event, that it was not just some guy going nuts and a gun nut, going in a murderous rampage and killing everyone randomly. It wasn't that at all. And I really do, I'm a bit ashamed I have not put it all together yet because it's really good information. But since I started doing that, there's been such a purge on YouTube. You can barely find a video that, you can have, it's buried. There's some still out there, but generally an event like this, for example, today, There are people who are very good at watching the news, analyzing the news, looking at tells, looking at different things and making observations. And I've gotten pretty good at that myself. But there are people who will just make little clips or videos as the news is unfolding. And that's sort of what I'm doing here this morning. So it's 9 a.m. It's taken me a bit to get started here. Had to make some technical adjustments due to some changes I'd made, and getting it all set up took a bit of time. Everything with YouTube seems to take a bit of time. It's kind of a clunky interface. Not how I would do it. Well, maybe just put it that way. Anyway, normally when you go through, I've learned, first of all, no, let me back up. Here's first of all. First of all, for some of you watching this may just offend your sensibilities. This may just make you mad. This may just turn you against me. This may just, like I always say, cause you to go flying out of the back of the truck, okay, as we go around this corner. Well, let me today actually take the opportunity to revisit what the purpose of the Sludge Report is, and that is to examine the sludge that's slung at us daily, and the mind control, the propaganda, the spin, the lies, okay, and using as the talking document and as the source the Drudge Report, which is arguably the most popular conservative news aggregate in the world, you know. And let's see, last 24 hours, what do we got here? Okay, it was a weekend and a Sunday. 21,000. Usually it's around 30. Or excuse me, I said 1,000. 21, almost 22 million, rounding up. Usually it's around 30 to 32 million in a 24 hours news cycle. And it started as a Hollywood gossip column and Washington, D.C. gossip column out of Matt Drudge's bedroom in Hollywood, California. That's the story. Okay. Well, as we've seen time and again, and when I started doing the Sludge Report, did doom dots, which were basically terror, confusion, and panic, uncertainty. You know, I would go through and we'd look at all the red dots of like these news articles. Some of them maybe relevant, some of them just Hollywood gossip, some of them just dredged from the far corners of the earth to fill in the quotient of having a kind of a heavy doom ratio. Maybe I ought to come up with a new quotient there, a new term. Excuse me, just one moment. Pardon me. Okay, and since I switched to doing making these videos through a streaming app that makes it difficult to draw on the screen and stream, it doesn't have a plug-in or a function like that itself, and it won't pick up my normal screen drawing things, and I've just kind of let that go. We got the idea, you know, that was the thing. Remember, the Sludge Report is a side project of Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories, and it is to give maybe someone who never thinks about things like this a way of looking at the news in a way that gives you your power back. What do I mean by that? Well, the lies, propaganda, mind control, and spin are designed to destroy your soul, to their thought stopping. The journalism is so poor as well that you have to ask the questions yourself. You need to be training your mind to read the news in a sense that you see where you're almost like grading a paper. You're reading the news, let's say, or hearing a report, and you're like, well, they didn't ask questions X, Y, and Z. Why not? Right? Or you're hearing the news, and it will sully your mind, your heart, your soul, and you need to have the Word of God to buoy yourself through the sludge. I mean, you're getting dumped on, son. Okay? You're getting dumped on. Imagine a giant, somebody squatting down over you, a giant, and defecating all over you. Pretty graphic image. Well, how is it much different? We've already looked at this, okay? We've already looked at this, and you know it. You know it in your soul that the stuff coming at you every day is soul-destroying. Think about when you were a little child and you had nothing to do with this stuff. Now think today's children, How many of them are shielded from it? Really? How many children do you know don't get wind of this stuff? Especially with all the school shootings. They're aware, right? Who knows what they're telling them I don't know. I don't have children in the government re-education camps, and I don't know what they're telling them exactly as far as making sure they're exposed to this stuff and what degree of fear they ought to be walking around in, So we're only going to really talk about this story today. Nothing else, okay? Nothing else. And we're going to get right into it. And it's also one reason that I played that bumper music that I made about 8 or 9 years ago. And, at the end, you see a little couple stills from Planet of the Apes where Charlton Heston comes across the Statue of Liberty, buried up to her, I think, shoulders or something like that. And he gets down on his knees. And again, don't go flying out of the back of the truck, church lady, okay? Don't get too religious on me, because I do occasionally season my speech with some words that are appropriate. In this case, I'm quoting Charlton Heston in the movie Planet of the Apes, and he says, God damn you, because they lost it. They gave up. What did Benjamin Franklin say? You have a republic if you can keep it. When he walked out of the, I think, the constitutional signing. I think that's that's the event he was, after which he said that. Anyway, I guess we should get right into it. But first, I want to, again, we need to put on the whole armor of God. Remember, the Lord's in control, okay? And when I go through this, again, one of the things I do is I go through and I show you how I try to read the news, and I'm articulating it now versus where it just inside of me, I have these, thoughts and feelings that are almost on a level that I don't even have to articulate them in words. I just know them because over years and years, that's the way I've been shaped, let's say, and also learned that's the best way to, when you realize someone's lying to you, okay, you begin to question what they say, rightfully so, You always have a little check in the back of your mind. It's like, are they lying to me now? That's when you, the news people do not deserve your trust whatsoever. Forget about what President Trump always says, fake news. That even in itself, that's another story. That term is not that great of a term. Most of the news is fake in the sense that there's news you hear that's not even real news. It's fiction. Now, when he's talking about it, he's talking about how they spin and they're biased, and he calls it fake news. I think that's a misnomer. At any rate, so we need to, or excuse me, what I was going to say is, I'm going to go through this article, and I'm going to go through it in a way that of what goes on, what occurs to me when I see this, the little things that little flag goes up, little check goes off, and it's an unbiased thing, okay? So if you're sensitive to that, if this is a sacrosanct subject, if somebody dies, if somebody's killed, and you freak out, if anybody, this is not the time, it's too soon, okay, shut out the video, go about your day. You don't belong here. This is about critical thinking. This is about this is what this is for. Okay, when something like this comes down the pike, this is the kind of thing you need to be prepared for. If we only talk about, the smutty things that, like I do sometimes, the stuff that he dredges up from the four corners of the earth about teledildonics or some kind of homosexual news or some kind of perversion or something like that, or we only talk about the war drums beating, or we only talk about, the journalism and the lying going on there. But then when something like this comes down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 headlines almost. It's all one, but it's 6 headlines. Mass shooting, a child killed, many more, dozens, terror, confusion, panic. And here's your script cue. I'm really angry. Might as well read, you better be angry. Think about that. There you go. There's a clue right there. Why is that there? I'm really angry. Non-credited quote. I'm really angry. Might as well say, be really angry. Okay? Shouldn't it? This is your script cue. You should be really angry. Well, angry at who? Angry at what? The shooter? Think about this. Child killed. Be really angry. Child killed. Be really angry. Well, what good is that going to do you? You're really angry at the shooter, or who are you supposed to be really angry at? The person who let them have the guns. Okay, right? Now, let me just preface this by saying, and again, I'm going to get into this, but first we've got to put on the whole armor of God, okay? The mass shooting, we're going to get into it. I'm going to go through some of this stuff that I've just, in 15 minutes picked out. 15 minutes. And we'll go through it, and you'll see how this kind of understanding and thinking and wisdom of way of looking, a wise way of looking at this and holding it at arm's length. Don't let it get on you. Don't let it get in you. Don't get any on you. Okay? Not just yet. All right? And even if this really happened, and I'm not saying it didn't, I don't know, it wasn't there. Okay? There are some of these shootings I can say with almost perfect confidence, almost perfect certainty is what I mean to say, that nobody died. That didn't happen. That's complete rubbish. Okay? It's like the 1969 moon landing. Oh, did you just go flying out of the back of the truck? I mixed metaphors here. I mixed situations that are too much for your brain. Okay, look, hey, this is high level stuff. It's high. If it's too high for you, go back to sleep. Keep trucking. Leave us alone. Okay? This is for people who really want to know the truth, be in the truth, and who follow the mandate of the Son of God, and believe that these are the end times. And he said, first thing out of his holy mouth, take heed that no man deceive you. And my brothers and my sisters, that is the hallmark, the keystone of the sign of his coming, is mass deception. Really is. You can talk about the wars and rumors of wars, and you can talk about the earthquakes in various places and pestilences and all these things, even the signs and wonders in the heavens, okay? But nothing marks the end of the age quite so much as the deception going on, because never before has there been this kind of worldwide mass media control that can deceive the masses the way they do, and also the techniques and technology that's being employed, and also the mass education, re-education, let's say, through the media, and I mean media by Hollywood. The whole world's been influenced by the witchcraft of Hollywood, okay? And the whole world's been, in this country in particular, the United States, through television, television. It's just been deception after deception. Line upon line, precept upon precept is how we can begin to learn the whole counsel of God. But make no mistake, the enemy uses a similar tactic to erode, to wear down, to mislead, the Artemis direction, to reprioritize values and things like that. Okay. Well, I seem to be going long. It's like, get to the meat of it. Well, this is the meat. This is the meat, sister. Okay. It only just gets juicier as we go on. So just hang in there. All right. So, all right. Well, I may have not quite gone to where I was going to in that point, but I need to not be self-conscious about going on these sidetracks in this kind of situation, because I do have important things to say to preface, because again, this may be the most important Sludge Report I've made. I think I was getting back to, originally I started this because there was an aspect of the Thousand Oaks shooting that I want to make a proper little documentary about. I've already gathered a lot of the things. Nobody has talked about this. Nobody has pointed these things out. None. I've watched a lot of those back when you could find them about the Thousand Oaks shooting, and or massacre, whatever you want to call it. I can't remember what the whole thing is called now, even though I've kind of worked on it over time. Not diligently, not as much, but I'm going to get that done, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll be like, oh, wow. Yeah. Sometimes there's the one thing that gives it all away. And this is pretty compelling. There's still enough that somebody's going to say, well, that's just a coincidence, or that, doubting and darkened minds, they don't want to come in to something they can believe in the light, because they wouldn't make good jurors. You've got to consider the evidence. They wouldn't make good scientists. They might make good scientismists. Plenty of jobs for that. But real scientists, they look at the evidence. Okay? And that's why I never say, and you can have this for free, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a human being, and occasionally I have to speculate in my thinking. You have to be creative to even have a direction to go sometimes to investigate, right? Called theories and theorems and all this. But then you find out whether that's true. Well, I'm a conspiracy scientist. For example, right here. Is this a conspiracy? Is this a real shooting? This is a question you must ask every single time. And if you think, well, why? They're all real shootings. Then you are lost. You you've got an IQ of 40. Okay? I don't care how smart you are in your job. You might be a doctor. You might be a lawyer. You might be an Indian chief. Okay? But when it comes to this, you've got a rope around your neck on a leash. You're being led around like you have an IQ of 40, like an idiot, because you're believing everything that's been told to you. And that right there, if you can't see the problem with that, you don't know what age we're living in. You need to get on your knees and ask the Lord to forgive you of your sins, to show you the light, the truth of His Word, and of what's going on in the world, where we are in the stream of time, and what age we're in, and show you, ask Him through His Holy Spirit to guide you into all truth. Truth. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Okay? With a capital T. All right. From Psalm 73. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. Now I'm going to do a little exposition here. Don't the wicked prosper? Who are the top wealthiest people in the world? You've heard it said that 1% of the world's population hold 99% of the wealth, or 90-some% of the wealth. Well, it's by and large true. Okay, there is a group at the top. It's like a pyramid. Okay, the higher up you go, the highest concentration of wealth. It gets smaller and smaller. The wicked do prosper in this world. The wicked do prosper. And then it says, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. Now this is by and large true, not without exception. Okay, what does that mean? No bands in their death. There's no pains in their death. You see some of these mass murderous presidents, ones who were behind the order to go in and, for example, allegedly drop nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And by the way, whether or not those are real nuclear bombs or not, that's another subject. If that's too much for you, just hang in there. Just forget it. Don't worry about that. That's worthy of investigation. We're all raised to believe and seeing the pictures, and that's what happened. Okay, it was nuclear bombs. Okay, maybe so, but regardless of how all those people died or how those cities were leveled, the Japanese were wanting to sign a peace agreement. They wanted to end the war, but that needed to be done. So they did it anyway. Okay. So anyway, what I'm saying is, that was at the behest of presidential, oversight. They allowed it. They wanted that to happen. What about the carpet bombings in Cambodia and Vietnam, Laos? All the places where lots of innocents were destroyed. Okay, these men, lived out their lives, and look at George W. Bush. Sure, he was in a wheelchair towards the end, it looks like, and whatnot. But think about that invasion in Iraq, right? These are all side subjects that you may already have your positions on. That my saying that right there is like, well, he did the right thing. He's a patriot, and Saddam was invading Kuwait, and well, how do you know that President? Saddam was our guy for a long time. All right, so I don't want to go on a side note on this, but you want to get to me offending you about the mass shooting and my take on that, don't you? So you better hang in there. All right. Don't start shutting me down because of other things I say, because believe me, there's plenty more I've never said yet in any of these videos that you would be like, holy God, this guy's a nut job. Well, that's your opinion, but I've been given a sound mind, and it's dangerous, right? It's dangerous because this is a world full of lies. It's an age of deceit. All right. They are not in trouble as other men. Isn't it true? Don't the wealthy and wicked seem to have a life of ease? And it's just on display. We see celebrities and politicians living a life of luxury and ease, right? And they don't have the troubles that other men do. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they have some troubles. That's for sure. There's one guy right now appears to be having some troubles. That's the Epstein character. Neither are they plagued like other men. They don't have some of the struggles. They don't seem to have some of the struggles, emotional, mental, or otherwise, that you and I might, dealing with the burdens of life, right? Therefore, pride compasses them about as a chain. Now, that's very interesting, right? Pride and wickedness go, they're dance partners. And pride's all around these people. It compasses them about. Pride is displayed in their possessions, in their clothing, in their haughty looks. It compasses them about as a chain. Now think about that. Like a ball and chain. They're bound to it. It's the cords of death. Violence covers them as a garment. Well, does that mean they're experiencing violence? No. But violence, which if you look at that word, which I'm going to do, let me do something here so I can do something here. Just one moment. Bear with me. I wanna pull that word up in the here we go. Violence. Okay. Hebrew H2554, okay? Violence, by implication, wrong. By metonymy, unjust gain. Cruelty, damage, false, injustice, oppressor, unrighteous, violence against, violent dealing, wrong. Well, violence against, okay, let me go back to the passage. Violence covers them as a garment. These are the clothes they wear. Okay, false dealing. All right, that's one. Cruelty, it's another. Now, I want to touch, before I forget, violence against or violence done against. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. You've heard this said. So those who deal in a certain way, a man reaps what he sows. A lot of times it comes back at them. But the Bible say also that our sins, some men's sins, they're judged for them now. Others, it goes ahead of them to judgment. Okay? So some live out their lives and they never seem to reap what they've sown. But it also, in the violence, means they do it against others. Okay? Right? Let me read it again. Oppressor, unrighteous, violent dealing, wrong. So let's read it this way. Wrong or wrongdoing covers them like a garment. Unjust gain covers them. It's the clothes they wear, right? Think of them wearing clothing that has on the t-shirt unjust gain. Cruelty covers them like clothing, like a t-shirt. It says cruelty. Damage, they got a t-shirt, it says damage. False, their t-shirt doesn't say truth, it says false. True, it doesn't say true, it says false. Injustice, oppressor. Think about this. Now I'm going somewhere with this related to today's news, okay? Continuing on. Their eyes stand out with fatness. And that word fatness, it means, let's see. Okay, well, it's going to take me a bit of thinking on that. And let's see here. Richest or choice part, okay? Could say their eyes. What does that mean? Literally or figuratively, by analogy, a fountain of richness, okay? Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish. Haven't you ever been envious in some level of these people that we're shown all the time? Whether they're, again, the Drudge Report, Hollywood gossip and DC gossip. So political, they've said politics is showbiz for the ugly or the unattractive or something, right? So there's a lot of similarities between the celebrity American royalty and the political American royalty, okay? Make no mistake, it's a type of a kingdom, type of royalty, okay? More than heart could wish. They are corrupt. It means intensively, they blaspheme, they jeer, they're corrupt. Ungodly, let's say. Okay? That's the easy way to put it. They're corrupt. When we think corrupt, we think of somebody who's on the take or stealing. But no, here it means intensively to blaspheme, be corrupt, all right? And speak wickedly concerning oppression. What does that mean to speak wickedly? Well, then it goes on to say they speak loftily. What does that mean to speak wickedly concerning oppression? Well, when you oppress someone, or even if you're regarding people who are oppressed, and you joke about it, or something, you're speaking wickedly concerning oppression. They're not classes of people, really. Red and yellow, black and white, God, they are precious in His sight. God came into the world not to condemn the world, but to save the world. His desire is that none should be lost, none should perish. He would die for the least of these, my brethren, the least of the people. And we need to regard every other human being on that spectrum. Meaning what? That the least of the human beings, of our fellow man, that He loves them. He would die for them. How can you oppress someone like that, exploit them and impress them, right? They set their mouths against the heavens, and their tongue walks through the earth. What does that mean? Evil speaking. Say, the tongue of man or animal is used literally as the instrument of licking, eating, or speech, and figuratively, speech, an ingot, a fork of flame, the tongue's of fire, a cove of water, babbler, bay, and evil speaker, language, talker, tongue, wedge. Okay? Well, you add it all up. Their evil speech goes through, travels, spreads throughout the earth. Here's the antecedent here of what the news is today. Therefore His people return hither, and waters of a full cup wrung out to them. And they say, how does God know? Is there knowledge in the Most High? Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Verily I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. For all the day long I have been plagued, chastened every morning. Let's backward engineer this. My friend, are you plagued and chastened every morning? Do you grow weary of well-doing? Bible say we're not to do that. Do you get tired of seeing the wicked prosper in the world, whether it's on a local small level or, the lofty world players, the jet setters, okay? Don't think that you've cleansed your heart in vain. Don't think that you're being sanctified in vain. Don't think that by washing your hands and being innocent of things, of refraining from evil, that it's in vain. Now let's backward engineer this one, verse 12. They increase in riches, who prosper in the world. These are the ungodly. I'm reading it in reverse here, not in a witchcraft way. We're thinking it through backwards and forwards. Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. So what's my point in all of saying this? Okay. There's a couple, but one that I want to bring out to the surface is that there are very, very, very rich people who are ungodly, who are oppressors, who are wicked, who prosper in the world, meaning the cosmos, the world system, the world's way of doing things. Okay? The world's way of wheeling and dealing, of making alliances. All right? These are the ungodly. And ungodly, looking at that word, means morally wrong, concretely and actively bad person, condemned, ungodly, wicked man that did wrong. We all do wrong. We all do wrong. But I think you understand there are those who are given over to this world, who serve Lucifer, conscientiously even, who serve, you may call Lucifer by the name Baal. Okay, so you haven't been looking at much on the screen except this red letter version. In many Bibles there's red letter versions where the words of God are in red. Now think about that. This looks just like the red letter version of your daily. This is your daily verse from the world. Mass shooting, child dead, be really angry, terror, confusion, panic. How does that compare now to the life-giving Word of God? Now, this might be a little too semantic or meticulous for you. Well, it's not about you, is it? This is about, look at this like, you're in a poetry reading or art museum or at a open mic or something like this, because it's certainly my open mic, and I'm telling you how I see this, and you can take it or leave it, but I hope you bear with me. We got more to go, so now let's get into it. I'm done with the little suiting up. We were suiting up there, okay, because it's all important in the context. Now, again, this is, I do not know what happened. I don't know what really happened or what didn't happen, okay? But I'm going to go through. This is really important, what I'm saying. And if anybody ever gets a hold of this and lifts things out of context, there's your context, okay? What I just read to you, and also the fact that I just made that statement, that this is how when I read these, I've learned through well-earned experience and quite consistent results how to read this. Now, by the way, this might be important to say. I'm feeling a little better today, and I'm still not out of the woods, but I will tell you I feel better, and that's good. But on Friday I made a video, and yesterday morning, Sunday, I made a video, okay? And we saw the whole deal. I didn't talk a lot about it, but the whole deal last week with the Mueller hearing. And it was a real disappointment for, again, all the world's a stage. Let's remember that context, okay? So the way things played out was more division, another doubling down, more just outrage, and there's no resolution really. And the Mueller report was ostensibly a disaster for the liberals and the Democrats, and a failure. And basically the hearings were an expose on the false premise of it. All these kinds of things. And I kid you not, I have no prophetic vision of what would happen next, like this shooting, okay? Other than, I don't know that it's somehow, you can be given a heads up by the Holy Spirit, no doubt, but whether or not you believe it's from that or not, but just by sheer experience, I thought, well, something's going to happen over the weekend that'll change the news cycle. Is this it? Well, usually a shooting will do that for 3 to 7 days before it's washed under. And we're going to get into this, and you're going to see a lot of things that maybe at first blush we don't see. Okay? I'm not going to, by the end of this video, I'm not going to have proven anything, because again, I heard about this last night. I was going to bed and took one last look at, my connection to the world through the internet. And before I went to bed, I saw the, about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I guess it was, somewhere in there, that there was this Garlic Fest shooting. It was a news alert, and I took a look at it, and I'm like, okay, interesting, didn't know how many, heard a child had been shot, but didn't know any death count, anything like that. So when I get up and I saw, this morning, I see this, all right, it's like, okay, let's take a look at it. And it fit what I want to say is, I had a thought on Friday, and then again on Sunday morning. It's like, I almost said, be on the lookout for a mass shooting. I'm not kidding. And you could say, well, you're just saying that now. No, I'm not claiming like I said, I'm not claiming any kind of prophetic ability. It's just like, you get used to this. Once you see it, like the 3D poster art, once you see it, it's a lot easier to see, a lot easier to expect. Now, I didn't have the energy to go check the dates, because numerology is very important when these things happen many times. There's a lot of symbolism in that. I don't know what July 28th means exactly, if it means anything at all. Again, this may or may not be an organic, let's call them organic shootings, where there actually is a guy with a screw loose, full of the devil, full of a demon, and he goes on a rampage on a personal. Well, think about that. Even if there was an individual guy that just no one knows about it, it's in his head, he just goes off. Okay? Well, it's still demonic. There's a demon in someone who goes off and does that. You can believe that or not. I believe it with my whole heart, that's a demonically inspired event, and that demon is in control of that individual. In fact, many of these shooters or even mass murderers or serial killers, let's say, will talk about the voice in their head. Will talk about the dark force that comes over them, has authority over them. They've given themselves over to it at some point. They've allowed it to happen, but nevertheless, they talk about an entity apart from themselves that drives them. Okay, there you go. Out of their own mouth. Look into it yourself if you got real concerns about me saying that. And I hope you don't. I hope anybody watching this, no, actually I do. I hope everybody watching this is all alien to them, because it's a growth experience and you need it. I'm telling you, you need it. Uncle Benny, a bit avuncular here, okay? Your uncle. And I'm trying to help you out. Because I've been helped out along the way, one way or the other, and to get to the understanding and wisdom that I've come to know and rely on and trust in. Right? Believe me, there were, I continue to grow. There was time I didn't have any of it. Okay? So, at any rate, I wanted to say Sunday or Friday and Sunday, it's like, Wouldn't be surprising. You're going to see some kind of a shooting or something. Some kind of a, could have been a bombing, could have been a truck attack. I don't, it could have been a plane crash. I don't know. But something coming down the pike, just around the corner, like you're expecting the next downbeat in music. There it is, right on time. Now, whether or not it has anything to do with it or not, it's right on time. How about that? Okay. Taking the focus off the Mueller hearing disaster. Okay. Because that's what the effect is. What was the cause? Well, we had a conveniently timed crazy man, apparently. Oh, how convenient. All right. So am I going too slow for you? Hey, you know what? I'm going to go as I'm going to take the time it takes, and we're going to get through this. I got other things to do this morning. In fact, I'm not on track with some things, but this has risen to a level of importance that I think is worthy. All right. Okay, here we go with now again, if this is a real little boy, if this boy is the boy who was shot and killed and it really happened, woe to the person who did this. Wow. There is forgiveness with the Lord, but that's far gone. You're going to shoot a little innocent child. Doesn't matter what color they are. Doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter what they believe or what this boy, what he was like. Maybe he was a lot of trouble, right? Maybe he was a beautiful little boy. Well, just very good, going to grow into be a good man. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Either way, somebody killed this little boy, apparently. And if that happened, may God help them through this time. Now, there are those, I've seen them in comments and lots of things, is like, well, if God is real, he wouldn't have let this happen. Well, you don't understand the nature of God, time, and his authority over all creation, and his power to give and take away for his purposes and his glory. He allows things to happen. Did he cause this to happen? No. But either way, my point is that even in our times of great questioning of whether God is faithful, God is love, God is real, he can still bring ministry to these people and their sorrow, right? So I want to say that again, I'm going to say things that are going to make all my comments like this just go out the window, because you'll choose to focus on the things I say that are like, well, you're crazy. You're stretching it. You're all right. No, believe me, I'm not without a heart. Hope you see that. Even in these things, hope you see that. So let's say let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He was really shot. Right now, I'd usually come in believing that somebody really probably did get killed, because again, here's the context, and don't forget this. Okay. I'm trying to lay a foundation because I really want to help you get to the other points and you don't shut down on me, that real people, innocent people, are killed. And even if this was a programmed event, this was a state event, not meaning the regular government type people, but like this was a black operation or something like that by the powers that shouldn't be, they have no problem killing people. Make no mistake. They have no problem killing people. I'm not of the mind that some shootings are hoaxes or false flags are totally staged, because I can't handle if it was real. 9/11, a lot of people really died. Okay? So there's that. There's plenty of other things. These same powers go to war and make your sons and daughters kill other people's sons and daughters in the name of this, that, and the other, usually democracy lately, and freedom. And, those people over there fighting for what they believe in and their right to live the life they want to live or the way they live, well, they turn it into a completely different arena, and with our superior power and technology, go in and kill them dead. well, they really die. I've seen people blown in half, people really die. And the powers that shouldn't be have no problem killing people. Doesn't have to be. They are at war, all right? It is a war. So why wouldn't they kill people in a quote-unquote civilian setting? You think you're living in civilian life. You're living in a battlefield, a spiritual battlefield. And it plays out and manifests in physical realities, okay? Police also shot and killed the suspect who was carrying an assault-type rifle, of course. According to a statement by the city of Gilroy. Police have a second now this is what's important. Police believe a second person may have been involved. Now, how many of these mass shootings, the initial reports, and I would consider be an initial report, 4:28 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, that would be about maybe 2 or 3 a.m. or 1 or 2 a.m. in California time, I believe. Police believe a second person may be involved. How many of these shootings, initial reports, everything from the what was the Colorado the Aurora movie, was it in Aurora, Colorado, where the guy, the orange hair, went in the movie theater, people talked about second person and all this, but they never get the second person, it seems. Second person. Even the Las Vegas deal, the one guy that they tagged the whole thing on, well, they talked about there was a second shooter as well, a lot of people. But, either one of those were, there was more going on there than that, but that's a different situation. So, festival had tight security, including metal detectors. Okay, that's important. Why at a festival like that was there tight security, including metal detectors? When you see the video here, if you haven't seen some already, it kind of looks like an outdoor fair type of things. I've never heard of that at one of those. Yeah, I understand going into the Super Bowl or something like that, or an airport, or a courthouse, or these kinds of things, but I've never really seen a festival like this having tight security, including metal detectors. All right, well, they did. Why did they do that? I don't know. Were they anticipating something? Had there been threats? I don't know. Again, these are things that come to my mind. But here's the takeaway mainly from this. First of all, 3 people were killed and 15 injured. That's what the latest figure I saw was as well. So the shooter entered. A second person may have been involved. Just remember that. I'm going to tell you why that's important in a little bit. So I'll leave this up here. Hopefully I won't get lost. Now, up until about October of last year, maybe late last year sometime, somewhere along the line, maybe it was earlier than that, I don't remember, when I would hear of a event, whether it was in Europe over here, I'd put in some topical words, and fake, false flag, here, let me put in flag, we'll hit another search, false flag, hoax, garlic festival, shooting, all the words that have something to do with it. There's nothing. There's still some remnant articles or videos about Las Vegas, about Sandy Hook, about Parkland. There's still a few things. These are really, relatively speaking, old. Like 1 year ago, the earliest one I've seen so far was 4 months ago. Nothing. Gilroy garlic. That's pretty specific. Festival. Fake. Whoops, I said false flag. I'm going to put flag. Space. Okay, again, I'm telling you how I do it. I go because I want to immediately see what are some other people seeing. Are there any tells right away? Like, somebody whose wife just got shot, but he's not crying really. He's just fake crying. Stuff like that, happens. Or somebody who's standing there drinking beer with their best friend while their brains got blown out, and they're standing there and giggling. Okay? Things like that. You'll find this stuff. Now it'll disappear, and that's why it's important to get some of these people who are watching it on their news source or whatever footage they're getting, and they're like, give me a break. There's something wrong with this picture. Okay? There's nothing. You can see nothing. So it used to be that you would see something for a minute, and when I say used to be, I mean in the last 6 months or so, and you might find something and it would disappear. Well, they've somehow managed to prevent anything coming up with the search engine. Now, if I scroll down for 45 minutes, would I come up with anything newer? Well, let's try one more thing. Let's add a filter. Let's go into today, just today. There you go. Now, there's something wrong with that in and of itself, because if these wild conspiracy theorists are out there, I guess you might even lump me in there, because you have to. You have to. If you can't accept what I'm saying, you have to put me in a category of a fringe, questionable group of people for your own comfort. Okay? No results found. Well, you don't think that there isn't some quote-unquote nut job who's made some videos already calling this fake without even any evidence, without even really doing any analysis? They're just skeptical, and they just get on there and say, oh, it's false flag. They've been scrubbed. Now, you think about that. Why? What are people in the truth afraid of? If all of these things are true, all of these shootings are true, or let's say this one's true, who cares about the little guy, somewhere out in Kansas, sitting in an apartment, making a video because he's grumpy and doesn't understand everything going on and whatever, and just thinks that, the government just wants to take our guns away. And he probably doesn't even have a gun, but you can't find anything. Now you think about that. You think about it hard. It's meaningful. Okay? Okay, so that's enough about that. So we can see that there's nothing out there. Now, I actually put in my video, I put in Garlic Festival, false flag, hoax. I don't know if I put in shooting. I should put shooting. So somebody like me who is looking for some information might be able to find my video. Will my video be flagged and taken down? Will my channel be shut down? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hesitated to do it because it's like, this is a lot of time and energy. At the same time, don't worry. I'll make a comeback, and I'm not worried about it. It's their channel. They can do it, or their site. They can do what they want. But I really don't think it's right with the level of communication and speech that YouTube facilitates, for them to be the governor of freedom of thought, because this is exploration. This is critical thinking. All this, for them to shut it down, that's pretty fascistic, pretty oppressive. Remember, the rich oppress and they laugh about it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so garlic, just the term garlic, without even changing the filter to now or anything like that, it just brings up this deal. So I just pulled up, I think, just the first 3 news deals. That's it. Why is this one red? Maybe, no, it's CNN. That's why it's red. So I've got the ones that when I did this like an hour and a half ago now. Wow, it's going to be a long video. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So this one's 17 minutes long. We're not going to watch 17 minutes of it. We're just going to watch a couple minutes of it. And I want to talk about just a couple things that we observe. And we're going to see the layout of the festival. Let me see if there's another one I want to see first. Okay, let's go in order. I don't think that's the order I watched them, but let's go in order anyway.
Second suspect involved in the shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival tonight.
Now, I want to point out, the first thing I look for when I see these shootings, here's a lot of police cars. There's a fire truck. There's a pickup truck of some kind with emergency lights on it. Always look for, first of all, they said 3 were killed, 15 injured. That was the last numbers I had. How many people can you get in an ambulance? I haven't looked up exactly the location of Gilroy, but you'll see there's a big neighborhood here in a minute. You'll see like a layout. Where are all the ambulances? It's an important question. Well, they have helicopters. Really? Okay, so they had some how many emergency helicopters? How many people can they take? Maybe at the most 2? I don't know. Maybe they were more sophisticated than your MASH units. Your MASH helicopter, from the show MASH, if you remember that. Choppers, radar would always be able to hear them before anyone else, and they came in and they usually had 2 cots on either side of the helicopter for balance, and that was their capacity. Well, these now med flight, I think they're called. Med flights are a little bit bigger units, but I don't know how many they can carry. I wouldn't imagine more than 2 inside, at least not 2 that are laying down, because you also have to have the medical personnel, the equipment, all those things going on. And so that's my point. Again, in thinking about this critically, what don't you see? You don't see a lot of ambulances. Now, that might not be a fire truck. That might be 2 ambulances. I don't think so. Looks like there's some kind of tube coming off of here, and those may not be the back line. That would be too short. Okay, so I believe this is a fire truck. Maybe it's a news truck. We'll see. All right, let's go on.
The gunman is dead, shot and killed by police.
And we have also learned 3.
Okay, that's another thing to always be aware of. The gunman, not the murderer. Remember that. It's mind control. Always the gunman, okay? A gunman. So the gunman is killed. Well, of course he's killed. The police were there was security, and they shot and killed him. They always shoot and kill him, seems like. They don't bring him in. You never get their real statement. You never get him questioned. You never, not never, but like many times, okay? Many times the gunman is conveniently shot and killed. Again, you might be losing your grip on your seat in the back of the truck here as we go around these corners. Hold on tight, okay? Don't forget the context of all of this. This is going through and not getting any on you and trying to discern whether you're being lied to or not. Take heed, the master said. Take heed. That means do some work. Take heed. Be on the alert. That no man deceive you. That KPIX 5 doesn't deceive you, right? That the FBI guy doesn't deceive you. That the sheriff that we're about to hear from doesn't. The sheriff of Gilroy or wherever doesn't. I mean, say wherever, because I don't know if it's that's just a small town, if it's the county, whatever, sheriff of whatever, take heed that he doesn't deceive you, okay? Sheriff of Gilroy, sheriff of whatever county it is. I don't know if it's Gilroy County. Gilroy's in Gilroy County. I doubt it. I don't know what the county is though. Okay, anyway, that's not that important. But when I feel like I'm getting to a place where people are gonna seize on every little thing to, because I have experience with this. People will seize on the slightest little misspeech or error you might make and focus only on that. Experience it all the time with people. So let's see. Let's go on. So the gunman's dead, of course. They usually always are killed. So that's something to be. It's a little data point. Just tuck that away.
Victims are dead. 15 others injured. They're being treated at several local hospitals.
Police say the gunman was armed with a rifle. They're not sure exactly what kind of rifle. Fired upwards of 30 times, sending the crowd running.
Okay, now this is important. Again, we're not doing 17 minutes. We're just doing 2 or 3 minutes of this. Okay, maybe even less than 2. I don't know. So when you see this, you're going to see the layout. One of the reasons I kept this clip was it shows you the layout, thankfully, of the whole little area where the festival was. This happened at, I believe, 5:40 p.m. Pacific time, and the festival was winding down. The gunman began shooting on the last song. I guess he entered on the stage where there was a band playing called 10 Man, which will be important. At least important in some things that occurred to me about it. And the last song and the last thing. So that's interesting. If somebody wants to kill a bunch of people, why do you go at the least populated time? People are leaving. Lots of people are done for the weekend. They're going home. It's dinner time. You know, why do it then? Well, I don't know. You know, it's like you'd think you'd want the mass, somebody who really wants to kill a bunch of people. And again, it wasn't like somebody just was carrying a gun, got in an argument, and just started randomly shooting at people like they snapped. We'll find out later that they had to have brought fence cutters, wire cutters, cut the fence, came in to evade the metal detectors and security, apparently. We'll see a witness talk about they're wearing a bulletproof vest and this kind of thing. So that, and camouflage. So there you go. So this wasn't a guy who just snapped at the last minute and he chose this time because he had no choice in the matter. Now think about that. This time wasn't chosen because he had no choice in the matter. It was chosen. End of the festival, last song of the day. I don't know if the festival probably closed at 6 p.m. because, again, it was closing down. Look how populated this is. Look how populated it is.
Hospitals.
Police say the gunman was armed.
Now, when you see the layout here, that's not a lot of people. It is virtually deserted. And you'll see people running this way, and then you'll see some people walking and sort of going this way. And you'll also see people running like they're running different directions. Those are things to kind of observe, okay?
Armed with a rifle. They're not sure exactly what kind of rifle.
Notice, I got to back up a little bit.
What kind of...
These people are just walking away. Now you say, well, what's that difference does that make? Maybe they're just not afraid. Really? Why are these people running? These people are walking. Then other people are walking towards there. Just remember that.
Rifle fired upwards of 30 times.
There she is. This guy, her, she's walking. Maybe she has earbuds in and she doesn't hear the shots.
They're not sure exactly what kind of rifle. Fired upwards of 30 times, sending the crowd running.
Okay, you know, wild camera, you know, presumably just somebody's cell phone video that the news people obtained. Great angle. Great. They're right in a good position. Catch the running people running away. But they also caught people just walking away and other people walking towards. And then the thing kind of almost looks like it's fallen out of their hand.
Good evening. I'm Brian Hackney.
And I'm Juliette Goodrich.
Now, you might be going like, well, you're being too critical. You know, maybe they were excited. Maybe they turned. Maybe they were running. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not dismissing that. But I'm just saying this is what we're being shown. And another thing to always be important in these shootings is where are the cameramen? Where are the people with the cameras? And we get these angles. Where are the people that are close to the shooting? You think nobody was filming the band? We don't have a single... Here's another thing. I hadn't even thought about this till now, but I usually do think about it at some point. Where's the video of the shooter? Right? Where are the videos of the shooter entering the stage? Well, it was probably too graphic. No, people have great editing skills, especially the news people, and they could have blocked out or blurred out anybody downrange of his gun and shown the man in camo and, you know, was he wearing a balaclava? I always want to say baklava, but that's a Greek dessert. But was he wearing a balaclava and a bulletproof vest, as we hear later? What about the second person? Where is the video? Let's watch. Let's continue.
We are continuing our breaking news coverage of shots fired in the final hour of today's Gilroy Garlic Festival. And that's in the area of Christmas Hill Park in just the last...
Okay, here's another aerial shot. You see a fire truck. That's not two ambulances. I think that's the one we were looking at before because of the angle. Not really any ambulances here. Let's just go. It's dark out. It's dark. It's dark, Ben.
Last hour. This is what we've learned from police about...
There's an ambulance. See the ambulance? What are any other ambulances? what's this? Oh, that's a car. That's a car. That's not a big vehicle. That's a car. That's a car coming the other way. The headlights, tail lights. Okay. Let's let me make it bigger. Okay. So here is maybe a residence or some kind of building. I think it's a residence because on the right side, if it's the same angle, same direction facing, there's a road, and then there's like a park, and then there's a neighborhood. Okay. So cars, again, this is an ambulance. I don't see any other taillights. An ambulance lights are going to stay on. You see back here, there's usually like a reflective tape and stuff being lit up. One ambulance. Curious.
About the gunman. At 5:41, shots were reported to police. Police on scene engaged the suspect immediately. The suspect was shot and killed by police believed to be armed with a rifle. We've learned the shooter was able to gain entry into the venue through a nearby creek and managed to cut through a fence to bypass security. Police say they do believe, based on witness statements, that another person may be involved in this incident. And here.
Okay. By the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established. So based on plural witnesses, there may be a second person involved, a second shooter even. What did she say, shooter? Sorry, I got to go back a minute.
Through a fence to bypass security. Police say they do believe, based on witness statements, that another person may be involved in this incident. And here is the latest from police.
Okay, now this is actually important. They didn't say that it was a second shooter. In another place, they say they may have been a support person, not necessarily involved in the shooting, but a second person, a second suspect. Now, why is this important? I'm just gonna tell you right now. Hang on to your seat, okay? Many times there's a second shooter suspected or a second person that just mysteriously vanishes. Why is that important? Well, it actually lends credence to it being a real shooting, by the way. For those of you who are like, it can't be fake. Nobody can fake all this. How could all these people be in on it? Well, that is possible, and there's ways to explain that. But having a second person involved that disappears would indicate what's known as a handler, meaning the individual who carries out the attack is under authority of someone, under the control of someone, and there's various ways that's possible. Okay, what kind of person was this that was shot and killed? Who was doing this? What kind of a mindless robot were they? We'll never know because they're dead. But if it does open the possibility, or gives a lot of credence to the possibility. It's always a possibility, whether there's a second person seen or not, that's doing support or handling or directing, or who knows what they're doing. Okay. Maybe they're close enough and there's some kind of electronic cues and, voice to skull technology. You ever heard of this? Well, there are people who have experienced it and say it's like they're hearing a voice in their head commanding them to do something. And it's a little bit of distinction between those who hear voices in their head that are demonic. Not much difference, really. It doesn't make a dime's bit of difference because the people doing the voice to skull technology are definitely demonically controlled and inspired. They're working for Lucifer. You don't do that to people, even if you have the technology. Putting thoughts in their heads or driving them insane to the point that they're finally submitting to this, the voice to make it stop. Yeah, people will sometimes comply to just make it stop. They're conditioned like a Pavlovian dog. Okay? So, were there any voices? I don't know. Again, this is the reason. That's the importance of the second person. All right, let's move on.
There were reports of shooting on the north side of the Garlic Festival area. Officers were in that area and engaged the suspect in less than a minute. They had come into the festival via the creek, which borders a parking area, and they used some sort of a tool to cut through the fence to be able to gain access through the secure fence line.
Once again, right there, that indicates that the shooter was either extremely stupid or really just hoped to die suicide by cop and didn't care about killing anyone other than just, but he did. He shot people. You know, you don't have to shoot anyone to be suicide by cop. All you have to do is have a toy gun and point it at them, and they'll blow you away with real guns. It's that simple, you know. But this guy in fact, if this guy wanted to commit suicide by cops, so don't anybody say that that's what this was about, because he could have come in through the front gate and tried to just go through the metal detectors carrying a gun, and there would have been easily, he would have been drawn upon and, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Neutralized quite quickly. But obviously, if he wanted suicide by cop, he wouldn't be wearing a bulletproof vest. Now, I don't hear that out of this guy's mouth, but a witness later says that, okay?
Line, and that's how they got into the festival area itself. We have one suspect we know that is down. We have some witnesses reporting that there may have been a second suspect, but we don't know if that suspect was engaged in any shooting or whether they may have been in some sort of a support role for the person that we have accounted for.
I mean, that's just really interesting, even a support role. You know, I talk about in witchcraft, a lot of times they tell you what they're doing right to your face. They say it right to your face. You know, does that mean that this leader, this guy's in on it? No, you know, he prepared remarks, and maybe he had help preparing them. Or maybe it has nothing to do with, he's just actually, you know, that is a possibility, always, a support role, meaning, you know, he's got walkie-talkies, saying where the police are. They got communications, and, you know, both these people were of the same mind. But, you know, when you're in a pact like that with someone, let's say, remember Columbine, you know, those two individuals. Okay, you're going to be the shooter and probably get shot and killed, but I'm going to look like a regular person, and I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to participate. But I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to get away most likely scot-free and get to glory in all that we accomplish for what we believe in or what we want to do, or, you know, the manifestation of our, you know, rage or whatever. Does that make sense? That'd be rare. That would speak more to the, you know, there's the serial killers who are partners, and one of them is near imbecile status, you know, and, well, there's only one situation, one or two that I know about like that, but there's several where there's serial killers where there's a dominant killer and then a guy who sort of becomes a partner in their crime, and they're more of the weaker-minded individual. Yeah, I guess it's possible, but let's be odds players here. What's more likely? What I suggested? Now, to some of you, no. That doesn't happen. There are no Manchurian candidates. There's no voice-to-skull technology. There's nobody who can make somebody kill other people at their command. Okay. You're right. I'm out there. I just made it up. I just enjoy making stuff up like that, I guess. Get real. Get real with yourself. Wakey, wakey. Do you know what time it is? Let's move on.
Here's the very latest information on the victims. Police say 15 people have been injured. 3 victims are dead.
Okay, once again, we see, looks like further out from the festival, maybe towards the entrance, I don't know, there's some tents and things, and you'll see there's only a certain area, it seems. Again, I've never been there. Sounds like a good time, though. Man, I love garlic. It's good for you. Lots of things with garlic that are good. It wards off vampires. So, anyway, people just walking. Some people walking kind of fast. They're not that far away. Why wouldn't you run? Why wouldn't you be... Now, here comes some language. Why wouldn't you be booking your ass out of there? Because you got to get home to your mom, your dad, your wife, your girlfriend, your children, and you want to live. Run. You're not packing a gun in that backpack. They had metal detectors. None of these people are packing guns. None. They're defenseless. But it's okay to just, you know, turn your back on the threat and just walk out.
These were the moments when
You have a couple people running, but just walking. Of course, the cameraman Cameramen are always brave, even though it's a cell camera. Cameraman is always brave. Even though if the shooter was back in here and started firing in this direction, there's no trees except this one, could mow down all these people. You think a bullet can't go that far? How far is that? 7,500 yards?
Shots rang out.
Okay, pop, 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 pop. That's fast. It's a semi-automatic.
And that's video from Twitter.
Now, one thing to notice, some of these tents already cleared out. Looks like maybe one's broken down here. I can't tell what that is.
And that's video from Twitter of the moment the gunman opened fire.
We have a team of reporters at the scene, Christmas Hill Park, where the festival...
Okay, let's look at this now. So here is Christmas Hill Park. Oh my gosh, I never noticed this. Doesn't this look like a bullet hole? Like in glass? The stickers that people will put on glass that looks like a bullet hole? I swear that looks like a bullet hole sticker. I can't zoom in on it, really. Look at that. That's weird. I don't think that's the map image. I mean, that wouldn't even make sense. Here's some fields or, green. I don't know if they're gardens or what they are. Here's like, neighborhoods and city area. Here's like the mountains. Here's the roads, right? What is this? That looks like a bullet hole sticker. Nice graphics, guys. It's a joke. Now, think about that. That's really tacky. Why would they do that? Looks like a bullet hole in your screen. High resolution, it might, without the Christmas Hill Park thing. The bullets coming through the window and the screen at you. Maybe that's it. I don't know what the message is, but that's clear. That's what that is. Make no mistake. If I'm wrong, somebody show it to me. I'm open to it. That looks like a bullet hole sticker graphic. How about that? Didn't see that before. And that's important too, right there, right? So I'm watching this backwards now, not backwards. I'm watching it back now with you, and I didn't see that before. Just went right over me. That's how so much of this stuff is. That's why it's worthy of breaking it down and analyzing it. Let's go on.
Festival was held. We'll get right to Devin Feely with the latest information. Devin?
So we just heard from the police chief as well as the Gilroy.
Notice news truck, some kind of vehicle. You know what? There's plenty of parking here. This is a tent. Ostensibly, this is I would presume, more the entrance because there's parking here. No ambulances. Now, I don't know exactly what time this was shot, but 15 people injured, 3 dead. Lots of people running, people still hanging around. There's not any more ambulances. That was a fairly, good-sized looking little town. They only have 1 ambulance in that whole town? I don't know. Let's move on.
Mayor and one of the festival organizers, they said that this all began tonight about 5:40 as the festival was closing. As you heard,
once again, still being reported possible second suspect. It's important.
Just a short time ago, one of the things that the police have been able to nail down at this point is they say it looks like the gunman was able to gain access to the Gilroy Garlic Festival by cutting through a part of the fence line, because that was one of the questions that several of the witnesses that we spoke to today had. They said, how do you get a gun? How do you get a rifle or some type of assault rifle into this festival where most of the festival goers have to pass through security, have to pass through metal detectors? And
all right, one of the messages that's being conveyed here, whether intentionally or not, is that even if there's high security, remember they said tight security, don't forget this, you got to carry this stuff forward. Tight security at the Garlic Festival. And it's funny, what's funny about that is what I mean to say. What's funny about that is that I did watch a video, I guess it was last night I saw it because I did watch it on the phone, and I like to read through the comments and things, and this videoer, she was saying, who's got beef at a garlic festival? At a garlic festival, really? It says stuff like this, and that begs the question: why was there tight security? They made a point to say it, right? Words are important. Tight security and metal detectors at the garlic festival. Okay, I'd never heard of this festival. Again, sounds like a good time. Probably lots of good food. And I will tell you that the subtext is, doesn't matter if there's tight security and the police and metal detectors. We can't stop these mass shootings. What does that beg the question? Or what does that leave open? Well, how do you stop them? See, they're so smart. They can get the guns that are high-powered and cut through the fence and evade our security. If security was that tight, there'd have been somebody monitoring that fence. Do you think somebody who really intends to shoot up a festival is going to come walking through the gate with metal detectors? You basically are forcing them to go through the back. Well, I mean, assuming the fence is in the back, just making that reasonable assumption. So if you are going to drive the potential threats, because there must be some potential threat if you're going to have beefed up tight security, then you're really bad at your job, because you basically just made it clear to any potential threat that they need to look for a weaker point of entrance. And so you have nothing covering that weaker point of entrance. You don't have a guy kind of out in a ghillie suit in the woods, just hanging out, just looking for movement, looking for anybody trying to sneak in the event. Maybe just to get in ticket free, let alone just come in and shoot people up with a who knows what kind of rifle. I did hear one witness. I'll save that for later. Okay, let's move on. You didn't know there was this much in here, did you? All right, well, I'm waiting for one little scene and then we'll move on.
And have bags checked as they entered. And so that answers one of those large looming questions about how do they get the guns inside. According to the police chief, it appears that they cut through the fence and were able to gain access to the festival grounds in that way. Now, we did talk to some witnesses who say that it appears that the gunman was not targeting specific people, that he was shooting indiscriminately into the crowd. We talked to a woman who said she saw the gunman, who was just really probably 10 or 15 feet away from her, reload that rifle and then go over to a pavilion, to a shopping area where she had been just a short time before that. Now, the police chief says one of the things that they're really trying to focus on at this point is witness reports that there may have been a second person. It's not clear if it was a second shooter or if someone that was an accomplice to the shooter, and that's one of the things that they are trying to figure out. Let's go ahead and hear from the police chief what he...
Now, these are initial reports. Again, it's still dark out over there. It, went into evening. I'm just going to, like I said, over the weekend, I thought, look for some, I thought to say it, and I'm like, I don't want to get too, I just wasn't up to it. I just didn't say it. I've said it before in times past, other venues, not on Sludge Report, but, I've learned to kind of anticipate things like this at certain times, and I wasn't disappointed, and I don't know, again, whether it was accidentally on purpose or whether it was, just coincidence. Okay, anyway, my point is, no, I lost my train of thought here. Okay. Oh, yeah, what I was going to say, talking about sort of, I don't want to say prediction, but here's a pattern I notice, okay? So this initial reports, all right, we've heard a lot about possible second suspect, talking about it freely. Now watch for, if they don't apprehend anyone, like in short order, watch for that to be dismissed. There was nobody else. It was just, confusion on the witness's part. Just watch it to disappear. It'll just disappear. It was a non-event. It was a non-starter. It'll just fall off the radar. But initially, you'll get this. The reporter gets on the scene, starts talking to people. Real people are saying what they really saw. They're reporting it. But then when the officials get to control the situation, they dismiss it. Because it's not necessarily because they couldn't catch the guy. Let's just say that. Let's move on.
What he had to say just a short time ago.
Again, I got to keep the perspective. This is how I am reading, or I take a very arm's length approach to these things, and I look at them in almost like you take a picture and you flip it back and forth between contrast and, what's the word? Is it contrast? Not contrast. Well, you're contrasting the, you make a negative of it, right? You make a negative of it. You look at the image that way. Just bring out different color. You just look at it different ways. And you see more detail. You see more things in depth. That's all we're doing here. I don't know what happened. I'm starting to see a few curiosities.
There were reports of shooting on the north side of the Garlic Festival area. Officers were in that area.
Okay, I may have gone a little too far. This is a repeat. I thought, let me see here, just one real quickly. Okay, I think we're gonna stop this right here. We've already seen this guy talk. We're gonna move on from this video. I was looking for one that showed actually like more of a layout, and I thought it was this video, and I may be wrong. All right, this one's the next one. That's kind of it's 3 minutes. It's longer. This probably has the I think this one has a lot of witnesses in it. Okay, now at the very end. Well, I'll skip that. Let's just go through this. Let's just think about it. Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting. Witnesses describe a harrowing scene. By the way, I got a copyright strike yesterday from using a black and white security film footage that had no sound of that beating in Washington, D.C. of the guy going back to his hotel. This stomping. This attempted murder, really. And I'd rather not say attempted murder. I'd say unsuccessful murder. Let's call that for now. It was an unsuccessful murder. An unsuccessful attempted murder. I think that's what they ought to say. That they didn't reach their goals. So, anyway, I got a copyright strike. Now, that's still allowing the video to play. I guess it's something that can't be monetized. And I appealed it. I don't really like a copyright strike. Well, I didn't get a strike. I'm sorry. I got a claim. And I disputed it under fair use. But basically, it was, I found it just like this. This is just from a list of, news clips that are out there for public. I'm not competing with these people. I'm actually in context, adding commentary and analysis for educational, nonprofit use. And but the problem is, I'm running the risk here of, they could use anything like this. The powers that shouldn't be, to if they find out, like I've already committed, I'm sure, all kinds of quote unquote crimes in their mind by even questioning any of this stuff, right? So you're on the fringe here. You're hanging out with a thought criminal, okay? I'm a thought criminal, basically, according to, because if I titled this. Well, I'm not going to because I don't know, right? If I title this, but even if I put a question mark under, Garlic Festival shooting, real question mark or something like that, how long do you think my video would last, or my channel? I don't know. I really don't want to find out because it's just I'm not up to I don't have time to fight that battle. It's just I just want to, I'm making these videos mostly for myself, but at any rate, we're going on a 2-hour video here. That's great. That's good. Because I've still got the jazz for it right now. And we're not that far away from the end. But, we'll see. Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting. Witnesses describe harrowing scene. I'm using this news clip under fair use, and I'll put that in the thing. Mercury News. I don't think I'd ever heard of them before. But, let's just watch.
I was sitting at the table in the front, right behind me where the shooting started. And when the little kid asked me, was there fireworks? It was almost 6 o'clock. Then we all looked back, and there wasn't no fireworks. Then I guess somebody got shot. Definitely the crowd went crazy. And then we heard the sound like an AK, a 9mm, another AK. It was like 3 guns, it sounded like. And then...
Okay, it sounded like 3 guns. All right, I didn't really listen to what this guy had said before that much detail because I was working on stuff while it was kind of playing on the other... It was playing in the background. I was over on another browser pulling other stuff up, but... a couple observations. First of all, he's a black gentleman. Why is that important? I'll tell you in a bit. Okay. Next, several witnesses are going to be Hispanics. Now, this is presumably, I think presumably, a largely Hispanic area. Lots of California is largely Hispanic. Most of the people I saw in the festival seem to be Hispanic, brown people, right? This guy's a black person. I didn't see a lot of black people, but I got through this video almost to the end. I thought, interesting. This is when I started to think about halfway. It's like they're all Hispanic. I see where this is going. Again, this is critically thinking. This is just questioning of seeing things on a spectrum, being an odds player based on things, in the past. And I began to think, well, that will be convenient if the shooter turns out to be a white guy who was, whether or not he's a Trumpster or not, but he was against immigration. He was a racist, right? Against Hispanics. He was a big Trump supporter, or he'd been down there to try to help the Border Patrol, stuff like this. I'm just creatively thinking here. I could see where this was going. Well, at the very end, there's a white lady. I don't know. She almost looks Mediterranean. We'll see. But at any rate, they did have a white lady in here. So maybe that does that nullify everything I was saying about that? No, but it did cause me to wonder if the festival largely was Hispanic people. I can see where a narrative might arrive here, or what one of the purposes would be. So let's just continue.
And everybody ran. We got on the ground.
Oh, one other thing about what he said. He sounded like, let's just play it again. He sounded like 3 guns going off, this guy said.
The first, sounded like an AK, a 9mm, another AK. It was like 3 guns, it sounded like.
Sounded like AK, 9mm. He said, sounded like 3 guns. Now, is this guy a veteran? He looks old enough to be a veteran of some war. Vietnam, maybe the first Iraq war. I don't know. Does he know what he's talking about? He knows something.
AK, 9mm, another AK. It was like 3 guns, it sounded like. And then everybody ran. We got on the ground. I didn't know the shooter that close to me. My niece just told me that one of the ladies who was a Mexican lady next to the guy got shot in the neck. But we put about a bunch of kids on the ground, lady with babies on the ground. And then we tried to get up and go again. After 5 seconds, then the shooting started again. I didn't see him shooting, but from what I hear, he was over there by my tent. So when we was in the front of the tent. And when it's shooting, we just went all forward. So I didn't have time to look back, see what...
Now, one thing I want to point out as well is that when you have, and that quickly, a response of this many police cars, this many armed and armored individuals in a town of what, we saw at least one aerial shot so far. I think there's another one coming up somewhere, whether in this video or the next one that's a minute long. Just remember, it's only a minute. Well, it doesn't matter. If you're interested in this, if what I'm making is compelling and making sense to you, you don't care how long this video is, even if you have to watch it in segments. And this is unscripted, live without a net. So, bear that in mind. Anyway, they can have that much police presence that quickly. You think that town only has 1 ambulance or 2 ambulances? Well, that seems a very disproportionate ratio of emergency services, in my opinion. Let's carry on. Again, the lack of ambulances is a question mark. It's not a conclusive thing, but it's a data point that's of interest.
It was him. I was just trying to save some kids.
Me and Chico here, we were cleaning. We were working in the vendor area. We heard pop, 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 and I said some idiots firing off firecrackers. About a minute later, we heard pop, 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 and then I saw the guy running with the...
Okay, his last name's Poravecchio. It sounds more Italian. I didn't read his name before, but his friend he's talking to is Chico. So, either way, there's going to be a mix of people. It's not going to be all Hispanic people, but let's say there's a lot of them. And again, if this gunman killed, what's his motivation? What's the narrative going to come out of this? Well, what's our political context? Again, I don't know, but these are the things that come to mind, okay?
Gun shooting at the crowd, watching the concert. Saw the smoke come off of the gun, and then he backed off. I heard...
Oh, wait, here's my ambulances. Let's see. Let's see. That raises another question.
Gun, and then he back.
Whoops. Well, I gotta see. How many we got here?
Off a gun, and then he
1, 2,
backed off. I turned towards
3. Okay, there's 3. There's no one around them. No lights on this one. Okay, that's something to think about. 15 people killed, 3 dead. Maybe the 3 dead bodies are in these ambulances here. Generally, they're going to be laying on the ground still if it's this early on where it's still light out. And there's no one around, no stretchers. Doors aren't open in the back. Well, I'm glad to see a couple ambulances. Remember, 15 people, 3 killed. Whether they knew they're going to need 15 ambulances or not, every ambulance within, I don't know what you'd say, 40 miles ought to be booking over here. I guess. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that kind of thing. But they're not really, they're not speeding away. You know, this has been enough time for somebody to get on the scene and start interviewing people. Been enough time for for all these police, fire trucks, they're all here. Start at 5:40. It's still light out. Well, it could be up anywhere till, I guess, what, 9:30? I don't know what time this is. Just full disclaimer here. I don't know. Again, this is how I think about it. I don't sit here and take 3 hours to think about this. I didn't notice this. I was listening to this more than watching it before. But me articulating it to you or catching this and going back, I don't do that personally. You know, I'd be over and done with this in a half an hour, this whole thing, normally. But, you know, I'm giving you some insight into how to, you know, reframe the news with the questions that need to be asked. These are questions that need to be asked. Now, well, Uncle Benny, how does this relate to that those verses you were reading? Well, it will if you haven't put it together already. Just a moment.
And then he backed off. I turned towards us. We split. I ran down the vendor area telling everybody to get out.
Okay, Los Gatos, Monte Sereno. All right, I don't know if that's 2 neighboring cities or if that's a county and I don't know. I don't know that area. Gilroy Fire, looks like it says. So the fire department and then their police. This fire guy's in the police car. I don't understand that. But at any rate, see, that's a neighboring county, it looks like. You know, there's Gilroy and then Los Gatos, Monte Sereno. I don't know. Maybe it says something in front of this. Either way, that's kind of curious. But I was going to say there's people already coming in from other areas. Those ambulances were all different colors and things. So let's see here. Let's go on.
One of my cousins got shot in the leg. I saw an active shooter just start spraying down everybody. He came up with a full vest, like full bulletproof vest, camo type pants, a hat, and basically he had the look of a police officer.
Okay, that was really important. It's important to tell. Here's a young guy just being interviewed. He saw the shooter. He was wearing a camo hat and clothing. I'm not sure if he said at this point he's wearing a bulletproof vest. I think this is the guy that describes the rifle too. But very important thing he said, he had the look of a police officer. You think about that. Police officers don't always even just have a look. They carry themselves a certain way. Or they know how to shoot a certain way. Whatever it is, it gave that guy this impression. Let's listen to him again. I think this is a very important interview. It's got a lot of information.
The full vest.
Here we go.
He came up with a full vest, like full bulletproof vest.
Okay, full bulletproof vest. Now, who gets those? Where do you get those? Yeah, you can buy them. You can buy them. So the guy had a bulletproof vest.
Camo type pants, a hat.
Camo type pants, a hat.
And basically, he had the look of a police officer.
Wow. Basically, he had the look of a police officer. Well, how many times do you see a police officer wearing the bulletproof vest on the outwardly? You can see him under their shirt many times, but outwardly, and wearing camo. Yet the guy still described him having the look of a police officer. Interesting.
And I think he had an M4, M5, an automatic weapon, and just
M4, M5 automatic weapon. Well, the way it sounded was more semi-automatic, if that was the shooter shots that we saw. Let's look up M4, M5. Again, this is what I would do. I don't know, M4 rifle. M4 carbine. Let's take a look at this. Now, does this young guy know his... okay, this is pretty... You know, we'll see stuff like this that without maybe the stand, that you'll see the jackboot standing around in, meaning our police that are ostensibly police, but they really are civilian military now. M4, we're going to say M5. So this kid knows his stuff. Let's see what the M5 looks like. Now, what I would go into further if I wanted to explore this, who can get these? Again, let's say the young guys, I guess there isn't an M5. Or did he say M1? No, he said M4, M5, I think. Colt M4 modular weapon system carbine with RAS. All right. It's extensively used by the United States Armed Forces. All right. Something to think about. Largely replacing the M16 rifle in the United States Army. So it's modern. The modern Army rifle is a Marine. United States Armed Forces. It's a semi-automatic round and 3-round burst firing modes. So it's not automatic. No doubt it could be converted to automatic, but it doesn't sound like it was. Now, where can you get it? Well, again, I'm kind of going off script here a bit. A little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it was worthwhile, don't you? There you go. There it is. Wearing camo with a hat. Now, I haven't heard anything about a baklava yet. You know, nobody's described the shoot. This is important, too. What have we not heard? What color was the shooter? Was it a Hispanic male? Was it a black male? Was it an Asian male? Was it a white male? Well, generally when they leave it out, it most often is like a black or something doesn't fit the narrative. But I'm not sure that that's what's going to happen here. I don't know. Maybe he was wearing a balaclava. What's a balaclava? Let's make sure you know what I'm talking about. You'll never forget the word. And let's not confuse it with here we go. Let's pull up an image. See? $10. You can wear that. Kind of hard to tell what they look like when they're wearing something like that. You know, $10 off Amazon. So you could track down. Okay, never mind. They're gonna know who the guy is soon enough. Let's see. What am I looking for? I am looking for anything about you can't get them. Here's a Navy sailor firing an M4. Okay. It's been used for close quarters operation. So you get a crowded situation. It's close quarters. Okay. I might read more about this later. Basically, this all centers around military use. And it's generally going to be made available to military people. Where does someone like you or I get one if we want one? I don't know. If you can get one, right? What kind of, do you have to have a special permit to get one of these like you might have to a machine gun? I don't know. Oh, here we go. There it is. This is what I was looking for. Found it. Sales of select fire fully automatic M4s, okay, I guess it can be made fully automatic. It didn't sound fully automatic. Are restricted to military and law. There you go. Period. Sales of these are law. They aren't telling you this in the news. Now, we'll find out what kind of gun he had. They may just end up telling us whether it is or not. It was an AR-15, because that's the ones that you and I can get that are just rifles, but they look like the M4 type of. They have that look. You know, they have the wrong look. That's the problem with them. No private citizen can own an M4 in a select fire or fully automatic configuration. Oh, okay. It went on a little further than I thought. I was kind of like, no private citizen can own. Well, maybe maybe they can own one otherwise. So there you go. I'm changing my mind. It's like, well, maybe a private citizen did get a hold of one, and it's just not fully automatic. As I've been saying, it didn't sound fully automatic to me. Now, the other guy who was there, he said it sounded like 3 guns firing at the same time. So maybe it was automatic. But no civilian, no private citizen can own one. And that doesn't mean that the guy obviously is lawless. So, well, he would have no problem breaking the law. Yeah, he might have a problem breaking that law, because how's he going to get one? Other than it was provided to him by someone else who is breaking the law, who does have access to them, which would be the United States Armed Services or someone in there. Let's see. Many machine guns can be owned. Only the earliest Colt M4 prototypes built prior to 86 would be legal to own by non-special occupational taxpayers, civilians. The modular name of the AR-15 design, however, makes it relatively simple to fit M4 specific components to a pre-86 select fire AR-15 lower receiver producing an M4, but all but in name. Okay, well, maybe it was an AR-15, and maybe it was modified AR-15 and made to look like an M4. I don't know, and maybe the young man is wrong. So, was this a worthwhile excursion? I think so. I think it raises the question of what kind of gun did he have? Because if we do find out it was an M4, a lot of questions there. How did he get it? Right? And if he did have one, was he a special occupational taxpayer? Was he who could get one, or was it modified to be machine gun? Important questions. Okay, so let's see here. Where were we? Okay, minute and a half left. Less than that.
He started like shooting everybody. A lot of our family was there, and well, I guess he only got one of my family members, thankfully, but we were we were really close.
I find it curious, I always like to watch the demeanor and the language of the interviewees. Okay, so he said one of it, remember, one of his family members got shot. I don't believe he was killed, as he goes on to say, and I'm not going to follow the guy if he's got a large family and some family member, maybe a cousin, got shot and he isn't crying. But why didn't he name the relationship? Why didn't he say my cousin got shot, my uncle got shot? I doubt it was his mother, father, brother, or child, or who wouldn't have said that? They wouldn't have said one of my family members. So presumably, again, using logic and reason, it would be an odds. It would be likely that it was an extended family member, but he doesn't say the nature of the relationship. And I find that curious. I'm not going to worry about him not crying, because again, extended family, maybe somebody he doesn't have that close a relationship with.
There was a play area. My cousins were there. My brother.
Okay, my cousins were there. Okay.
Was there, and thankfully he didn't start shooting there first, but he had the intent to kill.
I was here with my friend. He had a booth here. We heard some kind of popping. We all thought it was fireworks, honestly, and then we seen a flood of people running. Once we got it confirmed, we took some people back to our house, and now from what we're hearing, it's pretty crazy to see something like this happen.
Okay, I don't see anybody crying in shock. They're just standing around talking. I don't even hear anybody really excited. It almost would be like somebody might stand around after any event, like a school play or a concert, just standing around chatting. Well, Ben, do you expect them to be having nervous breakdowns? No. There are a lot of women out here, and maybe women these days are just that hard. You would expect some crying, some worlds being shattered. But no, the only people, they're standing around having a good time. Okay, that wasn't fair. They're having coffee talk.
In a small town like Gilroy, I'm helping people get home, dude. Honestly, me and my buddy, we live here. We're close. My family's safe. We know his family's safe. We're just trying to do the same for other families. Dude, we know they're stuck here. If we can help them get to them without them having to come down here, that's what it's all about. You got to be, kind to one another, help each other out in these situations.
I wasn't aware of what happened when it happened, so I work in the children's area at the far end of the park, and we just had pure chaos going through and heard that there was a shooter. Wasn't sure if it was true or not, but because I have children in my area, I just make sure my vendors got the kids out and safe and were with their parents and out of the park.
Okay, so that was that video by Barrier News Group, AIO Films. Interesting, seem to be mostly Hispanics there. Raises the question again, what was the motivations of the shooter? How will this be spun? Don't know yet. Let's see. Okay, I guess I don't know where the video was that maybe, you know what, it had to have been in this one. I had to have gone on further than I did, so we're going back to it.
And engaged the suspect in less than a minute. The suspect was shot and killed. It appears as if though they had come into the festival via the creek which borders a parking area, and they used some sort of a tool to cut through the fence to be able to gain access through the secure fence line, and that's how they got into the festival area itself.
This is repeating what we saw.
We have one suspect we know that is down. We have some witnesses reporting that there may have been a second suspect, but we don't know if that suspect was engaged in any shooting or whether they may have been in some sort of a support role for the person that we have accounted for.
Yeah, so we're beginning to hear kind of an emerging timeline. The first reports, according to the police, were about 5:40. Now, the police officers say within a very short amount of time, they said about a minute approximately, or perhaps even less than a minute, they engaged that shooter, shoot and kill him. But what that really underscores is the amount of carnage that he was able to do in a relatively short amount of time. Right now, according to the police, there are 3 victims who have been shot and killed. The shooter himself was shot by police and killed, and 15 others who were taken to a number of local hospitals with gunshot wounds and other.
So there were 15 others taken to hospitals, not just the ones who either died on the scene or died on the way, en route, or at the hospital. So let's say the 3 murdered people remained at the scene for the coroner to come and for them to, do all the measurements and all the things that they need to do forensically and whatnot for a situation like that. But the 15 injured, doesn't say they were all shot. I don't know how they were injured, right? But they're going to go by ambulance to the hospital. So we need possibly 15 ambulances. Well, we saw 3 that were just hanging around. So that means that possibly either those bodies were in each of those 3, or there was nothing in any of those, and there were a surplus of ambulances. I don't know, but these are things you think about. You need to think about them because the math needs to add up. It does. When you see one slip, start questioning.
Injuries. Now, as this investigation unfolds, one of the things that the police department is going to zero in on, of course, is who is this shooter? Was there, in fact, a second person who may have been involved in this? And that's going to be the focus of the police department's investigation as they move forward. In Gilroy, Devin Feely, KPIX 5.
I'm Elizabeth Cook, the live news desk. As Devin was mentioning, we're hearing from a number of witnesses who were at the Gilroy Garlic Festival today. Some describe hearing the gunshots and at first thought that they were fireworks.
Okay, I know I didn't go this far in this. She's a new face to me and her voice as well. And I what I wanted to get to is just predicate what I'm about to tell you about is that the name of the band on the stage. I must have closed the video or something, okay? So what? Let's just move on. Unfortunately, that video also, I believe, had a great layout of the... I could go in my history and stuff, but, for the sake of wrapping this up, because this is my longest video ever, I should get some kind of a medal. My medal will probably be having my account suspended and the video, flagged multiple copyright claims, not violations. There's claims. I'm gonna go through and put the news, try to put the clips in here and fair use and all that, because I'm using them fairly. They're public videos, and I'm using them in a transformative way. I'm doing news analysis upon them. Okay, so the band's name was 10 Man. Now, they came at the last song. I don't know what song they were playing, but immediately came to mind the song by America, America, called the 10 Man. You know this song? It's a very happy little 70s song. Oz never did give nothing to the 10 Man. Well, I'm not hitting the keys on that, but you know what I'm saying. But it's by a band called America. Now, what are you going for, Uncle Benny? It just seems a little weird. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you have to understand the world of the importance of symbolism, and there sometimes are things like this that are kind of odd. All right, so I thought the 10 Man, it's the name of the band, and the guy came and entered on stage, is what it's been reported. Maybe that's not a true report, but that's what I heard. As he came on stage, like he entered the festival through the fence, but then he began his rampage, if you will, by coming onto the stage or something like that. Very close to the band, playing their last song, and the name of the band's 10 Man, which is a song, and it wouldn't surprise me if they named themselves after the 10 Man in the song, which is related to the Wizard of Oz. And I thought, well, I better go review the lyrics for 10 Man. Looking for, is there anything that jumps out at me there? Well, let's just read the lyrics. Maybe something will jump out to you. Maybe it won't. Obviously, you can say, well, now you're stretching it, Uncle Benny. You're really digging. You're really trying to make something out of nothing. No, I'm just seeing what's there. Maybe there's something here. And when I did read through it earlier, yeah, there is something there. It's kind of weird that the name of the band is 10 Man, and the name of the band is probably based on either The Wizard of Oz or the song 10 Man by a band called America. Or even if it's not, it's an allusion to the song 10 Man by America, by the virtue of the fact that the band 10 Man was playing their last song. I'd like to know what that last song was. The lyrics go from the America version of 10 Man. Sometimes late when things are real, and the people share the gift of gab between themselves. Some are quick to take the bait and catch the perfect prize that waits among the shelves. But Oz never did nothing to the 10 Man that he didn't already have. And cause was never the reason for the evening, or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. Now, I don't know what this, I didn't go looking that up. But some of these lyrics here are kind of a little bit, and I'm somebody who, songwriter, and I can engage in stream of consciousness creativity and things like this. And there's the art of know how to do associative thinking, not as opposed to dissociative thinking, but as far as creative thinking and relating things to other things that may not have apparent connections. But sometimes late when things are real. Okay, things are getting real, right? People share the gift of gab between themselves, so it's, like a party going on. Some are quick to take the bait. Could it be deception, Catch the perfect prize that waits among the shelves. I don't know, just sort of a reiteration of that. But this is one that really kind of jumped out at me. Oz never did give nothing to the 10 Man that he didn't already have. Well, who's the 10 Man? I don't know. Could it be the peasantry? And Oz is, Wizard of Oz, right? The land of Oz, the land of make-believe, the land where there's a guy behind the scenes controlling everything. Who gives what am I trying to say here? Again, I'm getting into an area. Let's just finish reading the song. Okay. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round, round. Smoke glass, stain bright color, image going down. Soap suds green like bubbles. Oh, Oz never did give nothing to the 10 man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening, or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. And this might be worth looking up, but I don't know. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round. Smoke glass, stain bright color, image going down. Soap suds green like bubbles. Oz never did give nothing to the 10 man that he didn't already have. Cause never was the reason for the evening. Cause never was reason for the evening. Okay, I don't know. I have some thoughts, but I guess I'm not really feeling comfortable exploring them on my stream of consciousness level with someone who, it's just going to maybe discredit everything I've already said anyway, because again, I'm just telling you what I think of. When I heard the band was 10 man and they entered on the stage, they came in at the last song at this festival, I thought I better go look up the lyrics to 10 man, see what's there. Well, one thing I get, I'll just continue. One thing I get from Oz giving nothing to the 10 man that he didn't already have, it could be that, you don't have anything that's not given to you that can't be taken away. What would that be? Gun rights. You have them because they were given to you and we can take them away. Does that what this is saying? Oz didn't give nothing to the 10 man he didn't already have? No, that's not exactly what that's saying. Basically, the 10 man wanted a heart, right? That's what the 10 man wanted in The Wizard of Oz. He already had a heart. Oz didn't give him anything he didn't already have. Okay. How does this relate to the shooting? I don't know. I'm mulling it over. I'm not sure. Maybe nothing. Cause never was the reason for the evening. Maybe the Garlic Festival never was the reason for the shooting. Again, I'm just thinking things through. That's all. Let's move on. It's not really, obviously, it's no great revelations here. It's just interesting. Just a data point. Now here's something. I looked up the Spanish word for garlic. Let's hear how it's pronounced.
Ajo. Ajo.
Okay, now this again isn't one of those areas. I'm just telling you stuff I think of when I got to look at. El ajo. Okay, right now, as I've titled the videos, it's live streaming, and I'm going to probably change it, was Festival de Ajo. Festival of Garlic. That's Spanish for Festival of Garlic. Festival de Ajo. Okay. You ever heard anybody call anybody, and I'm going to use some language here, an ajo, it kind of sounds like asshole. Festival of assholes. Who are the assholes? The victims. Am I saying that? No. But if this is an event, it's a way of dehumanizing and, making, the sheeple of America, we're going to tell you who's boss, assholes, Okay, now I'm getting, again, if somebody could clip this and take this out of context and say, listen to this guy, what a nut job. No, I'm just, I got to look at this. El ajo. Ajo. Let's look at this one. So I want to get into that. Let's see here. That's unfair use. Just looking up. Festival de Ajo. Okay, let's hear it.
Festival de Ajo.
Kind of sounds like asshole.
Festival de Ajo.
Almost has a little CK version, echo, almost sounds like. But anyway, it made me think of that. It's like, let's say it is why did they choose this place for a shooting if that's what's going on? Remember, don't forget that second suspect they're looking for. Lots of witnesses apparently, because that's a stick. It was actually more persistent than I would have normally seen in a lot of other things. It seems like it disappeared a lot faster than it has. About the whole second shooter guy or second suspect. So must be some pretty compelling testimony that there was somebody else helping the person. All right. So don't forget that. That's really important because the odds are highest. If there was, the odds seem highest. It was a handler type person. Don't forget now the reports and witness of it being an M4 rifle. Who gets the M4 rifle? troops, the military, not usually a citizen. Is it possible? I don't know. I mean, we can only explore it so far right now. But again, these are the things that questions are raised. Is this a legitimate shooting? Well, it may be legitimate victims. There may be some real dead people, and that's horrible. Horrible. It is horror. But then again, why were there people walking towards it and some people running and some people walking? That's curious. I didn't hear any screaming and crying. Didn't see any of that. Well, maybe I just haven't watched enough videos. And don't forget, where's the video of the people? I've never yet seen a band in the age of cell phones, especially at a festival, where somebody's not Facebook live streaming it. Where is the video? How did they manage before a couple hours after the shooting? They've basically shut down every video that could be on YouTube or Facebook or wherever that might show this guy in camo with bulletproof vest and exactly what kind of gun he's carrying and whether or not he was wearing a balaclava or whether he's white, black, Asian, Hispanic, or Cocker Spaniel, Dogman. I don't know. Maybe he was a Bigfoot. Found himself a M4 from some exercise in the woods and somebody dropped their rifle. Obviously that's ridiculous, but I'm not saying Bigfoot's, or Sasquatch is ridiculous. I'm saying, I'm just being facetious. The point is, where is the video? So when I play this
Festival de Aco,
Festival of the Assholes, what does that mean? It means Festival of Assholes. We're going to go and show them who's boss. If this was one of these staged events, the public, the sheeple, the goyim, the goyim, the goy, okay, the farm animals. Read Animal Farm. Read Animal Farm by George Orwell. Need to read it. Okay.
Festival de Aco,
Garlic Festival. Let's talk about garlic for a minute. Spiritual and religious uses. So here may be a symbolic purpose for choosing the garlic festival, because we could say it's the festival of assholes, but also in folklore, garlic has been regarded as a force for both good and evil. In Europe, many cultures have used garlic for protection or white magic, perhaps owing to its reputation in folk medicine. Central European folk beliefs consider garlic a powerful ward against demons, werewolves, and vampires. To ward off vampires, garlic could be worn, hung in windows, rubbed on chimneys or keyholes. The foundation myth in ancient Korean kingdom of Gojoseon, I don't know how to pronounce it. Eating nothing but 20 cloves of garlic and a bundle of Korean mugwort for 100 days, let a bear be transformed into a woman. Interesting. In celebration of Nowruz, Persian calendar New Year, garlic is one of the items in the seven scene table, a traditional New Year's display. It'd be interesting to know when the date is on that. I don't know. In Islam, it is recommended not to eat raw garlic prior to going to the mosque. This is based on several hadith. Well, that's interesting. I believe Islam is a demonic doctrine, and they advise, and it's not that there isn't garlic in Islamic culture and their diets and things like that, but that's interesting, where it wards off demons, but it's recommended not to eat garlic going to the house of worship. Who they worship? It's doctrines of devils. See how this all fits nicely? Ward against demons. Well, how about that? What's the symbolism in a garlic festival? Celebrating the plant that is a powerful ward against demons, whether it is or isn't. It is believed to be throughout history and even today by many. And vampires. And knowing that anybody who's going to commit a mass shooting, or whether it's an organic lone quote wolf or quote lone wolf, or a Manchurian candidate type of individual, demons. Again, if that's too far for you, I pity you. You have a low IQ. Your heart is hardened. Your mind is darkened. You don't see. And may God grant you that ability to have discernment, to be able to see easily the reality of the unseen world, because it does make manifest. The reality of the unseen world does make manifest. We war not against flesh and blood, but against of powers, spiritual wickedness in high places, you name it, okay? Now, I want to cover a couple more verses, and I think we're finished here. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Are people mourning today? Yeah. Just because of the shooting? No, they're mourning for all kinds of reasons. And the constancy of this horrible doom and gloom. Well, no, it refreshes on its own. This is still the mass headline. I don't know, that's interesting. Okay. So when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So backwards engineer this. Are the people rejoicing these days, or are they mourning? Are they always in doom and gloom, oppressed by the constant? Here we go. Gunman ID'd. Let's get it. Let's get to it. The people mourning, who does that mean is really ruling us? Let's find out. White guy, black guy, Hispanic guy. William Ligon, not sounding good for a Hispanic guy. Santino William Ligon. Maybe it is. Interesting. Santino. Let's have a look at him. Let's see. Santino William Ligon. Let's look him up. Let's see what we find out. Let's get an image. All right. Well, based on appearances, it's maybe he's mixed. I don't know. He looks more white than anything. The name Santino is the thing that's standing out to me. Don't know much about him. Boy, that's young. Where would a guy get an M4 rifle? Was that what it was, or an AR-15? I don't know. Even if it was an M4, I think we're going to hear it's an AR-15, because that would be more fit in the line of, I mean, how would we know, right? We got to get video of this. One witness, they come face to face. Okay, that explains this headline on I'm really angry. Okay, I didn't click on any of that stuff, but they quoted it, and I was saying be angry. Well, that really is the message, be angry, because I'm really angry. Somebody had a conversation with him while he's shooting. Face to face. Why are you doing this? Because I'm really angry. I think that's sort of absurd. That seems absurd to me. I could see somebody panic. Why? Why are you doing this? It's almost like a Clint Eastwood line, What was that line about punk? I don't know. There's a Clint Eastwood line with punk in it, but sometimes it's dramatic pause and reels off a cool line. Because I'm really angry. To me, I'm sorry, that dialogue, that encounter just seems absurd. It seems kind of an absurdity. Does that mean it didn't happen? No, it just means it's absurd. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Ligon identifies as being of Italian and Iranian descent. Again, Santino doesn't mean maybe that's Italian. Okay, that sounded Latino to me. It does sound Italian too. There you go. So he's ostensibly a white guy relative to Hispanic or black. He's effectually white. Let's put it that way. Who identifies of being Italian and Iranian descent, posted on Instagram before the shooting. And when I say this, people are going to regard him as a white guy, but he looks like Persian and Italian, and that's not traditionally white, okay? But in the very obtuse way of looking at things that most people have, he's a white guy, Okay? He's not European white, but he's going to fit the bill for being a white guy. I'm pretty soon we're going to, I don't know, I'm just speculating. We won't hear a lot about the Santino part. I'm going to call William Legan. I don't know. Maybe we won't. Maybe they'll keep calling him Santino. Maybe they'll make a point always of saying that he's Italian Iranian descent to make sure they know he's not Hispanic. Okay. Posted on Instagram before the shooting. The account was removed, but heavy obtained screenshots. Okay, you know, they're very fast to remove these things. He has an Instagram with 3 posts. The most disturbing appears to have been posted shortly before the shooting. Garlic Festival time. Come get wasted on overpriced shit. Okay. You get too wasted and accidentally shoot up the festival. So is this a friend? And does he use drugs? I don't know. Man, I'm using up my entire morning on this, but this is, again, I said, my most important Sludge Report video. Legan also shared his views that include French white supremacist book written in 1890. There you go. There we go. There it is right there. Now they removed the account. Are we going to get a screenshot of this? Let's hopefully they can show this. Called one of the most incendiary works ever to be published anywhere by noted anarchist, Legan quoted from the book in a post accompanied by a Smokey the Bear sign. Okay, they do have it here. About fire danger. He wrote, read Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard. Why overcrowd towns and pave more open space to make room for hordes of, here we go, mestizos and Silicon Valley white twats? Well, he mixed in white twats in there, but mestizos, okay? So what I wanted to, ultimately get with this is that, again, wondering, was this a guy who was under mind control and being handled, or just organic and demonically influenced and inspired? Yeah, it's possible, but where is this going? Race hater. He's a racist against Latinos. He went to a garlic festival in Gilroy, California, which appeared to be, just by the ratio of presumably a sampling of the crowd by doing the witnesses, of Latinos, Hispanics. Who were the victims? We'll find out. Were any of them white? I don't know. We need to find out. We'll find out. Doesn't mean that if any white were shot, that's a crazy situation, especially someone who's never done it before. To go in and start shooting human beings, that's not an easy feat. And the police had him apparently neutralized in 1 minute. They've said 1 minute, and you've shot at least 18 people, presumably 15 injured, 3 dead. Man, he would have been a powerhouse on the battlefield. Ice cold. A little more training, he might have been able to kill more. He's only 19, don't forget, Don't forget, he's only 19. How much real gun time could he have had? How long did he own that M4 rifle? It's a question. Let's say he owned it a month. You think you could go out there, keep your nerve, and keep it trained on people running and fleeing? After that first shot or second shot, that crowd is dispersing. So you're shooting people in the back, okay? Kill shots. How do you get off 3 kill shots and also manage to, maybe it's not too hard to spray a crowd that's running, but it looks so thin. Don't forget that. According to the book Modern Satanism, Anatomy of a Subculture, Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard was authored under a pseudonym. It is purported to expand on Friedrich Nietzsche's theories of master-slave morality and herd mentality. Well, Nietzsche said God was dead, and God said Nietzsche's dead. Nietzsche was about the Superman and a racial superiority or something like that. I shouldn't say that. I read, what was his book? Well, I read in high school a long time ago. Read a Nietzsche book. I better go look. This is what I got to do, and what you ought to do as well. Track things down. Nietzsche, let's see his book list here. I'll remember what it was I read. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, he was about nihilism. Let's see, reading and influence works. Here we go. Beyond good and evil. That's what I read. Beyond good and evil. Okay. All right. 5 fast facts. Had an Instagram account. 3 posts. Only 3 posts. The last one was about this come get wasted on overpriced shit. What did he mean by wasted? Killed? You didn't think about that. First thought is getting drunk or on drugs. Come get wasted on overpriced shit. I don't know. Let's see here. So he's posting about white supremacist stuff, right? Then he wants to say, he made another post about mestizos. Read Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard, who we later find out this is a pseudonym according to a Satanist book. So what relate is that to Satanism? I don't know. Is it Satanism? Maybe. Why overcrowd towns and pave more open space to make room for hordes of mestizos and Silicon Valley white twats? Interesting he put the white part in there, but remember, he was of Italian and Iranian descent. So he may not have been exactly a white supremacist, but he was also he was a race hater against Latinos, apparently. And maybe whites too. But maybe that's the best they could do. He was ripe for the picking. And again, that's under the presumption that this is looking like he's a Manchurian candidate type of individual. Remember, the second person, handler, maybe. Okay. Let's see. The book is described as being akin to social Darwinism. Well, that's being taught to your children. Here's your fruit. You plant an orange seed, you're going to get an orange tree. You plant a corn kernel, you're going to get a corn stalk. You plant this kind of stuff into the minds of the youth, and this is the kind of fruit you'll sometimes bear. Again, whether or not he's an organic lone wolf, or whether or not he was one of these individuals, just like in the Parkland shootings, who, like that guy, who had predispositions and maybe he's seen psychiatrists, school counselors. So he came under the radar of as somebody who maybe, let's use voice to skulk technology on him. Let's work with him. Let's condition him. And he's an asset. It's called an asset. He can be summoned, just like you've heard of sleeper cells. Well, you got these guys. Uncle Benny, how do you know that? Stick with me. Think along these lines now and again, and you might be surprised what you trip over that's the truth. And you can either pick yourself and dust yourself on and carry on like nothing ever happened, like most people do, or you can say, what the hell was that I just tripped over? I better look a little closer at that, and I better look out for it in the future. Okay? Includes misogynistic and racist principles, claiming that the woman in the family as a whole is the property of man, and proclaiming, okay, so now he's even he's a alpha male type that, believe me, that's been worked on. You can't be a strong family man. You can be the head of that. You can be the weak. You can be a family man, but you're going to be made fun of on television and commercials and everything for decades now. Made to look a fool and stupid and a buffoon, especially if you're white. Proclaiming the innate superiority of the Anglo-Saxon race. All right, let me read that again without commentary. The book is described as being akin to social Darwinism and includes misogynistic and racist principles, claiming that the woman in the family as a whole is the property of the man, and proclaiming the innate superiority of the Anglo-Saxon race. So this guy is feeding his heart and mind, apparently, that women in the family as a whole is property, meaning they're less than the value of himself. They are objects. Okay, that's not what Bible say. Now, the Bible does make a man the head of the household, spiritual head, but he's to love his wife as Christ loved the church, or loves himself and gave himself for it. Okay, let's not forget that. But proclaiming the innate superiority of the Anglo-Saxon race. Well, according, he maybe saw himself as Anglo-Saxon. I don't know, as white. Book also contains many strong anti-Semitic statements. Oh, this fits a lot of narratives that work for certain agendas. Let's just say that. This guy fits who the left love to hate, and not just the left, by the way. All right, here we're only on to the second one. Ligon's grandfather, Tom Ligon, a West Point, okay, military connection. Raises questions. Was the Santa Clara County supervisor. He's in the local government. I don't know where Gilroy is exactly, but Santa Clara is out there. He was accused and acquitted of sexually assaulting his daughter. Okay, a lot of times we find in military higher-ups, I don't know where he went with the military, but there is a lot of perversion that goes on. That's another subject. And sexually assaulting his daughter. So this guy is, he's given over to some satanic things. You don't have sex with your daughter. All right? Ligon's brother is a noted boxer. Okay, so, all right, there's things to think through on that, but not going to do it now. Let's see what this is about. Heavy law enforcement present in Gilroy neighborhood right now. While unconfirmed by police, we got to tip someone here may be connected to the Gilroy shooting. Gilroy PD and ATF out here going in and out of this house. Okay, nice neighborhood, looks like. Unmarked car. Ligon's brother is a noted local amateur boxer who was profiled in a 2017 story about his mission to help see tuition costs lowers, also for his talent in the ring. Ligon's grandfather was Tom Ligon. Wait a minute. Didn't say his father? Oh, grandfather. Okay, I'm going too fast. Ligon's grandfather was Tom Ligon, West Point grad who died in May of 2018. According to his obituary, the elder Ligon served as a captain in Korea as a nuclear weapons officer and completed his military service in Germany. As a civilian, Tom was Western Regional Marketing Director for Kaiser Cement, was thereafter appointed and elected as Santa Clara County Supervisor for 2 terms. If that's the grandfather, he doesn't look that elderly. Don't know what to think about that. It's just a military connection. Where's his father? Ligon's grandfather was he that was accused of assaulting his daughter, which right now we're going to use as a placeholder. That's probably the shooter's mom. Okay. Witnesses say they heard dozens of shots and reported seeing a gunman in camouflage armed with a long rifle. Witnesses told an NBC Bay Area that, okay, we already read that. He pulled out a semi-automatic rifle. So it's been described as semi-automatic and automatic. What I heard when I heard the shots fired did not sound like automatic. Let's see. Sounded like he reloaded because it stopped and then started again. How long does it take to empty a magazine? He shot 30 to 40 rounds. Let's say each one was a 20-round clip, just for argument's sake. Let's say there were 40 rounds and 20-round clips. I don't know. I may be way off what capacities are, what he had. Stopped and then reload. Can you fire off 20 rounds and you got heavy police force there and not be being shot out, stop and reload and continue to unload? I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it's possible. But is this 19 years old? He was all in fatigues and a machine gun. He was just shooting at everyone, randomly shooting. Well, this doesn't give the sense that it sounds like, it's a walking shooter. He's walking around shooting, not like hiding behind a vantage point. How do you stop and reload without getting your brains blown out by, maybe all the officers were cowering, I don't know. Let's see here. All you need is one guy with a gun who has a presence of mind to know who's doing the shooting and take him out, even if you got to run towards him. I don't understand these guys, And by the way, out of all that audience, not one person, apparently, was carrying, well, again, they had the metal detector, and I don't know what the rules are, the gun-free zone. It was a gun-free zone, clearly. They wouldn't let anybody in there who could have maybe stopped this. Witness Ryan Wallace told NBC News, I watched him walk up. He raised his gun and started spraying rounds all around. He was walking like he wanted to get stuff done. So there you go. He's just walking around. It was horrifying. He was ready to do some damage. So, where does someone get this kind of steel resolve at 19 years old? Well, maybe it's a lot easier than I could imagine right now, because maybe he was raised playing, what's those games? Not video games. I'm not just trying to say video games. World of Warcraft, or there's some that are shooter games. You know, most of them I guess are shoot 'em up games, and they are very realistic. So yeah, I guess so. Maybe he didn't have to have any real training or any mind control. His brain has already been fried. But I tend not to think so. Okay, there's millions of young guys who watch these video games. Millions of angry young guys. Thousands of them are emotionally disturbed, or broken homes and taking medication, and problem children, juvenile delinquents, and they don't go with icy cold steel resolve, waste people at a festival. Videos show panicked festival goers running out of park and trying to get to safety as shot. I don't know. The panic just doesn't look that panicked. We already saw that video. Panicked festival goers. We also saw what aren't they saying? Remember? What don't they say? While some walked towards the gunfire. Now, why is that important? I don't know. It's puzzling. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And there are some, indications of what that could mean, but I don't know. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. I have not seen this. Video shows moment gunman opens fire on Gilroy Garlic Festival Sunday evening. Okay, now there's 4 people killed. Well, that's including the guy. All right, let's watch this. This is important. Here we go. Remember, he's supposed to come out on the stage or from the side of the stage. Okay, we gotta start this over. We're gonna watch it full screen. So far, this video shows nothing. We hear what sounds like a pop. This shows nothing. Now, somebody hopefully will take this video and slow it down. It's not going to be me. And we can maybe get an image or two of something that we can grab a hold of. Maybe, well, no, this is when she's turned away. This shows nothing. First of all, there's hardly anybody in front of that stage, looks like. Even as she's running. Where are these people? Yeah, I don't know. That stuff bothers me a little bit. She's in Spanish, so she may not be saying anything. If you don't speak Spanish, you can understand, which would be important to hear. But let's start it over. They obviously weren't playing, by the way, unless it's a metalized version, they weren't playing Tin Man by America. But the band is apparently called Tin Man. So again, this is just a festival. Do you think they got a police barrier out here because they're afraid groupies and crazed fans are going to jump up here and try to molest these guys? No, there's not hardly anybody out here. Secondly, they don't sound like a very good band. Yeah, that's my opinion. Okay, we just heard the shots. This guy looks over this direction. Notice that? We heard pop, pop, pop. Let's hear it again. Right when he raises his hand, it might be interesting of note too. I don't know, but this is again how I think when I'm trying to discern, is this real or not, what really happened here, because the timing of this, never forget the context. I myself on Friday was thinking, I wonder what's going to happen over the weekend or the beginning of this week. Change the news cycle. I would just wonder. And I'd been wondering too, even in spite of that, I had been wondering lately, gee, it's been a little while since we've had a mass shooting. What's going on? So watch when he raises his hands. I want to catch it. I didn't catch it exactly. I may be wrong. It seems almost, what does that mean, Uncle Benny? Well, who is this guy? Is that a cue? Why wasn't the band shot? Or maybe they were. I don't know yet. If they weren't, I kind of wonder a little more. Does the shot start when he raises his hand? Why is that important? Because that could be the cue of when to do it. I don't know. Or when to enter. Let's just go. Okay, wait a minute. I didn't go far enough back. Let me go back. exactly when he puts his finger up or his fist up or whatever, it's hard to see the detail. As soon as he it's almost like on beat. It's like now. As soon as the now hits, shot fires. So when you want to know when the first shot starts, it's when his hand reaches its apogee. Watch this. It's almost a pop pop. Was this rehearsed? I mean, this is interesting. I didn't know this was here. Let's just watch this again. He walks up to the mic, hand goes up, pop pop. You see that? Now the pops continue, but he does the first two right in sync. I'm just trying to do pew pew, pop pop. Watch that one more time. I don't like when people they'll make a video and they'll just replay something somebody says 10 times to make it emphatic. But this is worth watching again because that's kind of weird. That's a weird coincidence. A coincidence, maybe. I don't know. Almost with musical rhythm. It just fell on time. Just like this story did, by the way. Puzzling evidence. That's all I'm talking about. Again, I'm thinking this through. There's a lot of news that's happened in the last 3 hours. This video is probably now 3 hours that I have not touched on. I haven't seen it. Ain't nobody got time for that, except I felt this was worthwhile this morning. I've been ill. I've tried to keep working all last week. And this is a slow week for my work until, the first couple days are going to be pretty predictable. Let's move on. Okay, immediately. Did she get hit? I don't know. Let's scrub through this a little bit. So you got nothing. Is she the only one with the camera? Well, it is pretty, I'm not seeing a lot of people. Man, that band they need fans. Okay, look, somebody did maybe zoom in a little closer. So the second half, we're going to a little bit of a replay. We'll watch it straight through now. But one thing is troubling to me. First of all we see is the moment it starts, almost like it was cued by this guy. Again, almost, I don't know. It was almost like a cue. Either he knew and he saw, and it was like a musical, like when you play air guitar, he's like pop, pop, and then just watches. It's weird. And then as soon as this lady runs, she doesn't crouch down to get a grip of what's going on and where's it coming from. Remember, this is loud rock music coming out. Does she know immediately where this popping coming from? Maybe she got hit. Maybe somebody next to her. I don't know. I'm just, again, it's about thinking things through critically. Let's go. Well, this is the first individual I've seen running in what could be described as a panic mode. Well, thankfully there was one, there was one person. We'll see. Maybe there's a few more she captures, but right now her camera's got nothing. Well, it does have something. It has the lack of lots of other people. It has the lack of a herd of stampeding people panicking. Let's listen if we hear other people screaming and crying. I don't know. One thing I noticed too, she hasn't gone that far. There was 6 to 8 shots that popped off, and then I not hearing any more. What I don't hear anybody screaming for their lives. Don't shoot me, don't shoot me, I am pregnant, don't shoot me, please don't shoot me. I don't hear anybody who's been shot wailing, screaming in pain, screaming I've been shot, help, help. I don't hear that. Do you? Yeah, we got to watch it again. Let's listen. Let's go back to here. She first drops the camera. I don't hear anybody screaming really in pain. Maybe I missed it. Of course, there's loud music, but it stops. And I don't hear anybody, her maybe shouting to her children or her friend or whoever's with her. It's like run, run, or whatever she's saying. But I don't hear anybody screaming for their lives at the point of the gun over by the guy, or screaming in agony, or screaming in death, like they're dying. You know, he's killed me. I don't hear anything. Let's hear it again. Okay, you know, maybe I just couldn't hear it. Maybe it just doesn't, in the context of the phone and her sound of her, you know, her microphone and her running, and, you know, maybe the way her volume of her yelling maybe mutes, like the algorithms in the phone, it kind of suppresses the background. I don't know. But it, you know, where are the other videos? Maybe that's the reason the shooting didn't start until the crowd was almost empty, because there would be hardly any videos, and that would be the reason we don't have any videos of the shooter. There's rarely any videos of a shooter. Ever since Columbine, when there were some that we only got to see some of the clips of them walking around the school in grainy black and white or something, we don't get to see what really happened. It should be available, in my opinion. And in the age of, there's so many conspiracy theorists and people spreading fake news because they're talking about these crazy, dangerous ideas that these are false flags, or that these are hoax shootings or stage shootings, and there's crisis actors and stuff. My God, these people are a menace, and they scrub YouTube and everything. But why, if that's the case, why not release video? Just like they never released really any video of the most heavily videoed, security camera videoed building in the world, most likely, the Pentagon, and 9/11, you get to see the what is supposed to be the front of the plane, a white little flash coming in one frame. Give me a break. They're hiding something. That it wasn't a plane, maybe? That it was a cruise missile? You know? Why not? To this date, 18 years later, it's never been released. What my point is that they could really debunk a lot of these claims that this was, you know, BS, if they would release the videos that people could see. Oh, well, they're just too graphic. Well, you can edit out any victims, you know, or you can crop it. You can do whatever. But let's see that goddamn shooter. Oh, did you go flying out of the truck at goddamn? Well, if you really believe that's a wicked, murdering man and they're killed on sight, you think they're going to be resurrected to righteousness? Really unlikely. Nobody who's born again as a spirit of God is the odds are, they're nothing or next to nothing that they would ever be able to do something like this. Not someone who's met the Lord, okay? Not someone who's really met the Lord. Okay, here we goes the replay that I didn't know was here, but now I do, and it's a little closer up. So somebody's magnified that this at California Brief apparently has taken this lady's video and done a little work on it to bring it into graphic relief. So let's. This guy is menacing looking. You get the shaved head. Looks like Mr. Clean. He looks like he's well built, strong guy. Kind of looks like a white supremacist, neo-Nazi skinhead. I'm just joking around. Or am I? I don't know. I don't know who this band is. 10 Man. But watch this. Watch this. This is really interesting. And you listen to the sound. He was already looking in that direction. I got to see that again. Doesn't change where he looks when he hears the shots. I mean, he's got sunglasses on, right? Plausible deniability. Can't see where his eyeballs are looking at. But that's bizarre. Because he clearly hears them, because he looks up and stops and he looks again. But watch what he does. I got to see his approach again. That's very interesting. He steps up and looks like this is the moment, this is the time. That's okay. this is looking more and more like he saw that guy with the gun. This is not looking good. This is actually a bigger tell than I would have imagined. This is an extremely curious data point. It's an anomaly, believe me. If you can't see that, I'm sorry. I'm not stretching things. There's something wrong with this. Doesn't even, he hears it, doesn't flinch, doesn't cower, doesn't run, not in front. His chest is thrust out even. I gotta watch that one more time. I'm sorry. Like, yes. Right? Watch this. Watch his approach. He looks. Arm goes up. Tap, tap. Yes. Like, yes. And then he looks up, chest out, right back to where he was looking before, where the gunman is. He's heard the shots. That's what I'm seeing. So what did the band guy do after that? Did all of a sudden he freak out and run? I don't know. I don't have any video of that. So if I see a video of that, that'll maybe buffer those sentiments a little bit. I don't know, but that was really creepy. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hour long video, and whatever. Somebody's shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Okay, we got to check this one out together.
Oh shit! What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, I saw this one last night.
Is there fire? Right here. What the fuck is going on? Oh shit! Oh, they're shooting! Oh shit!
Okay, notice now it's sideways, but notice you got people running this way. You got people running this way, and she just turned the camera that way, so they were running this way. Well, their cars are parked in all different kind of... Well, when you see an aerial photo, you'll see that there is like one area... I don't know what I tried to say. I don't care where your car's parked. Somebody's opening up with an M4 rifle and firing at people, and you don't maybe even see the shooter. You're probably running whatever direction is away from those shots. So she's standing here, so they're not behind her. This way.
What's going on? What's going on? Is there fire? Right here. What the fuck is going on?
These people are running this way. Those people are running that way. These people are running towards the shots. What the hell?
Shit at a garlic festival, bro.
These people are walking. It's hard. It's puzzling evidence. What do you make? What do you make of this? Well, we got to put it all together. So far, there's enough. There are some questions as to whether this was... Really, the question comes down to, was this a lone dude who just, he really filled his heart with madness and gave himself over to Satan and did this on his own? Or did he have a handler? And is this a staged event that's on purpose? It was in the wings in case we need something on July 28th to break up the news cycle after this horrible deal with, what was going on July 28th. We could have a big gathering and find a shooting, make a shoot. We got an asset nearby. Code whatever, roll out Operation Aho. Okay. There you go. I don't know. That's the question. Whether or not anybody died or not is another question. I'm leaning towards likely. Most people are like, whatever they tell them happened. So however they portray this guy, that's all there is to it. That's all she wrote. I don't think so. Okay. Okay, I'm kind of wanting to move on from this. So let's see, what was the fourth one here? Fourth little video shows. Okay, this was to say, I thought this was 5 things to know about Santino Ligon Williams, the shooter, alleged shooter. Let's see here. Police have been searching for the second suspect around the densely wooded park area since Sunday evening, and the feds are involved. Well, my guess is the feds have taken over by now. That's another thing that generally happens at shootings that are staged in false flags. Okay? You know, the highest authority in your area is your county sheriff. I had a conversation one time with a guy that was running for county sheriff who was involved in law enforcement for a long time in my area, in my current area, and you know, I talked to him about this, and you know, that's important to me, that the sheriff does not, if there's ever any situation where the federal agencies want to come in and just take over all the investigations and operations, they're not allowed. They're not allowed to. They may provide resources and assist, but they're not running the show. But that's not usually what happens in these kind of things. Okay. Police flocked to the scene. We're searching several areas around Christmas Hill Park. Police in full tactical gear, searching the creek with canines. Unclear how many shooters there were, if police have anybody in custody. Okay. Shooting remains under investigation. San Francisco office of the ATF agents were headed to the scene to assist. After at midnight, the FBI arrived. Okay. Yep. So let's go on here. Here's the FBI arrives. Police said on Twitter, the hearts of Gilroy PD and entire community go out to the victims. Scene is still active. If you're looking for a loved one, please go to the Reunification Center at Gavilan College at parking lot B. Witness line and family reunification line. Here's the number. If you saw something today, please call that number immediately. Why aren't they asking for videos? Why isn't there a site you can upload your cell phone video? Am I that smart, sitting in a chair, you know, pretty much galaxies away from this situation, not involved in law enforcement? I'm not a, you know, emergency tactician or an evidence specialist. But you got a phone number. If you saw something, you know, give us a tip. Call the line. How about upload your videos? If you've got video on your phone, the first thing, don't delete your video on your phone. Please share. You may have captured something we need to see. I'd want to know all the faces. If there's a second person, you think they weren't inside milling around? Maybe if they didn't have a gun, weren't involved in the shooting, maybe they came in the front entrance. Maybe they were on the inside saying it looks good. Now's the time to come in, you know, through their call, made a cell phone call. All right. Gavin Newsom said, there's nothing short of horrific. Tonight, California stands with the Gilroy community. My office is monitoring the situation closely. Grateful for the law enforcement. I wonder if they're monitoring it as closely as you and I are. Grateful for the law enforcement's efforts and their continued work as the situation develops. Let's see. I think the situation, hopefully it's over. That's kind of a poor choice of words. Continued work as a situation. I would have worded that differently. Anyway, situation was the shooting. It's still developing? Or is there's the big operation developing? That might be a revelation of someone's heart. The situation is still an ongoing, you know, it's an operation. Because the situation should be over. By the time the governor responds and says that they're grateful law enforcement's efforts as the situation develops, it's no longer, I would think, that's almost an insult to law enforcement. It's not a developing situation. The situation is in check. We've killed the shooter. And we're, you know, that second guy's not getting away, you know. And if it is a second guy and he's gotten away, there's no longer a threat for shooting, most likely. Odds are high. Because he would have participated in the shooting here. Maybe, was he going to go shoot somewhere else? Well, this was the festival. It's over. I don't know there's a festival Monday morning. All right. Let's see. 15 years a partner with 95.3 KRTY St. Joe's Hot Country. Introduce country music. That didn't sound like country music to me. Let's see here. Okay, nothing really about the 10-man band as I was looking for. That's been held at the park since '79. It's an institution in the area. 3-day festival raises money for charities and nonprofit groups. Okay. Okay. Then there's your token scantily clad big boob girl for, putting people's faces. All right. So let me back up here. That came from, all right. Okay, I'm really angry. I didn't click on that earlier, but that was, let's see what article that takes to. That's been there since I first saw that headline this morning, but this was the shooter. I wish I would have clicked on that, but he screamed out, "I'm really angry." So now he screamed it out, but before somebody asked him why. Someone shouted, "Why are you doing this?" Did we hear anybody shout, "Why are you doing this?" Now, we don't know how far away the shooter was from that lady that was right there at the concert where he apparently started shooting. The person responded, well, now they're saying he screamed. When we heard the pause in the shots, we didn't hear somebody scream that. I don't know. Again, how far did she run? Maybe her hand was over the microphone during that moment? There were lots of possibilities, but where are the other cell phone videos and recordings? Wasn't anybody recording this concert? Were there microphones set up anywhere? Did people have video that were closer to the shooter? Did anybody, instead of running, did they hide? And did they have audio? Let's hear it. No, you know what? I'm an odds player. My money's on nothing. You'll get nothing. Now that itself is a huge problem for me. All right. If we don't see at least half a dozen videos or more from people that were right up there listening to music in all different positions, that's a red flag. There's a big problem with this story right there. If you don't believe that, you ain't been paying attention. Okay. 19-year-old. No, 19. Screams Alex Cooper. No, it's 18. Sorry. I'm not a big Alice Cooper listener. All right. So I think we've explored everything. That's the same video, I believe. Let's just make sure. Yeah, California Breeze. Same one. Won't play it again. I played it enough. We had many officers in the park at the time this occurred, which accounts for a very, very quick response time. Well, it wasn't quick enough, was it? 4 people died and 15 other people were presumably shot. How long does it take to draw your pistol? How long does it take to shoot 15 people in the front and back and 3 of them with deadly shots before you've got a bead on this guy with your service arm? I don't know. Maybe it's not fair of me to say that, but they made a show of saying it was tight security, many officers at the time this occurred. What were they doing? Eating a hot dog? Where were they? On the other side of the park? Well, they were, 30 seconds away, apparently, because they subdued him in a minute. They said within a minute's time they had him neutralized. You start counting 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10 1,000, 11 1,000, 12 1,000, 13 1,000, 14 1,000, 15 1,000, 16 1,000, 17 1,000, 18 1,000, 19 1,000, 20 1,000, 21 1,000, 22 1,000, 23 1,000, 24 1,000, 25 1,000, 26 1,000, 27 1,000, 28 1,000, 29 1,000, 30 1,000. That was just half a minute. I hope I didn't repeat any numbers. Either way, I'm somewhere around half a minute mark. It's a long time. in a situation like that. Haven't you ever heard that time slows down for people? An officer who's trained and who's supposed to be there on guard against this kind of a thing? Exactly. Hearing shots, they know what it is. They're trained regularly at the gun range. Not firecrackers. Their first thought ought to be, was that gunshot? As soon as they saw any unusual movement by the people, which we saw was immediate, they should have known gunshot. I didn't count a full minute. Very, very quick response time. Many, many officers. Was this a controlled demolition? That's the question I ask when you count 1,000 to 60. Many, many officers. By their own words, we had a lot. Tight security, many, many officers. Metal detectors in the front for some reason. Many, many officers. And that guy got to shoot that many people before he was, and he was walking around. He wasn't hunkered down in a, machine gun nest in a vantage point behind a, let's say a speaker cabinet or a PA system that he could hide behind and have a vantage point and just be, being a marksman, snipering at people. He's walking around. Many, many officers. You just heard about 30 seconds, roughly, of time ticking by. Quick response time or controlled response time? It's a question I ask now, and hopefully it makes sense to you that was not a reasonable question. It's like, that doesn't seem completely right. Something feels funny about that. Once again, we're done here, but you know what? The more you look at these things and you think about them, the more it doesn't pass the smell test exactly. Now, I hardly have any information other than those 3 videos. That last article we saw about after they've identified the shooter, since I've been doing the video, talked about garlic. We listened to some things, read some things, looked at, there's a lot in just a very little. Now here's Kamala Harris. Let's she say, there we go. Here we go. Right away. Our country has a gun violence epidemic that we cannot tolerate. Is that so? Is that really so? Here comes the anti-gun people, right on time. It's a parade, people. It's show business. It's a parade. Everybody loves a parade. It's a parade. Watch, the parade's begun. The news cycle's changed. Mueller report disaster behind us for now, until we can retool. Until we have something better, or we can really, maybe Bob Mueller was having a bad day. People have bad days. They don't perform. Even the great artists, they have good performances and bad ones. Apparently his was pretty bad. And now that they're retooling, because even this hearing was a retooling of the Mueller report in May. I think it was May it came out. And a few months later, now he's being called up. In one of my videos, I said, "Oh, this again," So they came back with another crack at the candy, and no joy. So got to retool. In the meantime, let's pull this off the shelf, maybe. Well, even if again, rogue dude, a real live rogue. Here comes the parade. Maybe that's how I'll that's how I'll retitle the video instead of Festival of Assholes. Because, that, even though I'm not saying that about these poor people who were victimized one way, everyone there was victimized. Make no mistake. You don't have to be shot to be victimized. If you were there and it was a real shooting, or even if you believed it was a real shooting and they were blanks, let's say, you've been terrorized. And every one of us who have been given the news today have been terrorized as well. Never forget that. This is about terrorizing you, confusing you. They took out confusion, terror, confusion, panic, panicking you. Okay? Now they took the words away, but the parade keeps going. So anyway, I don't believe the people. I just was saying the fact that the people, if this was perpetrated, they regard, the victims, the goyim, the sheeple, the human resources for their agendas to be used and disposed of at their will. Who's they? Say it with me. The powers that shouldn't be. Regard you and me as assholes. Just, excuse them, part of my language to a degree. I don't like, that's one of those ugly words. Everybody knows it. It's an ugly word. But I just found it interesting, the garlic festival. You got to look at these things. Why there? Why now? There's things even being said about I can't remember the name now, the Parkland shooting. The name of the high school is Mary something, or some woman's name. And if you study it out a little bit, there's some interesting things that person was about that made it interesting. It made it meaningful that it happened there. Let me put it that way. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So I'm going to probably retitle. I'll figure it out, but because I did put it in the video about that, about, just in thinking about it. Garlic in Spanish is ajo, kind of interesting play on words, I guess, and it could mean something, maybe it doesn't. That's just a very insignificant little thing, but it's at this point, because it's, who can say? But again, this has been about going through the sludge thrown at us and getting us what's the word I'm looking for? To reframe the news in the Word of God, And by the way, this is upside down, but and this may or may not mean anything. When it's right side up, as it was one other time, with the 4th of July, believe me, that meant something. You don't have to believe it, but I choose the odds play. That's what it means. Here's sort of a pyramid shape. I don't know the upside down really carries any meaning or weight, but honestly, they would put "I'm really angry" up here and gunman ID down here to make it more of a pyramid. We'll see if they adjust that. I don't know. That would be interesting if that happens. Anyway, just something I noticed, not even really important, because it's not right side up, but upside down. Remember witchcraft, backwards, up is down, and as above, so below. So the last time they did this, it was upwards. Now it's downwards, and there are plenty of occultic symbol imagery and symbolism where you have the pyramid being reflected upside down. So you have as above, so below. It's an important occultic, Masonic, satanic concept. Why did the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. It means they conspire against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder. In this case, bands means the things that hold them together, their values, their beliefs, right? Let us break their bands asunder, their marriages, their bonds between their children and them, right? Their strength as neighbors, brothers, and sisters, and cast away their cords from us, meaning they cannot hold us to account. They have no control of us. Let me read that again. The kings of the earth, that means the rich, the powerful, the rulers, the powers that shouldn't be, set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder. Let's break up their families. Let's break down their beliefs. Let's destroy them and cast away all accountability from them to us. You are the goyim, and I am the goyim to these kinds of people, meaning the cattle, the below human, the subhuman, the human resources. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord, the Creator, our Savior, shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, and I will declare the decree. The Lord has said unto me, you are my son, and this day I have begotten you. Meaning our brother, our Savior. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Later it says, don't you know you shall judge angels? Meaning you and me, if you're born of the Spirit of God. Serve the Lord with fear, respect, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry. Make your peace with God, my friends, through Christ. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry. And you perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Just a tiny bit of God's anger could destroy a world. Such is his power. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. My friends, my brothers and my sisters, put your trust in the Lord today. Don't be troubled by this news. Don't be troubled for the families that may be real victims of this. When I mean real, I'm talking about the ones who were injured or killed. Say prayers for them, that God may comfort them. And we're to weep with those who weep and mourn with those who mourn. It's Bible say. So, and I hope for their sake that none of this is true, but I'll accept whatever the reality and the truth is. However, as we've seen, there's some curiosities, some strange things. And how strange will it get? I don't know. It's harder to tell anymore because videos like this get taken down. They get taken off the search engine. So I got to think of what was I thinking earlier? I thought I had a title for it to change it to. Now I don't remember what it was. All right. Remember this in Proverbs 29:10 says, the bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. Now, the bloodthirsty hate the upright. There are those who are bloodthirsty. This word is good, true, and useful yesterday, today, and forever. Just like Jesus said, Jesus, not his real name, said, the poor shall always be with you. I would add, so are the bloodthirsty. Men shall wax worse and worse, it says. Right? They hate the upright. Now you mix this in with those who have incredible power, incredible resources. They have control of agencies, government agencies, you name it. And now you've got a recipe for making things like this being staged or controlled or put on very possible. If you cannot see that, you are a blind person who needs to cry out to the Lord to heal you of your blindness. Just like in the days of old, when Christ was walking around Jerusalem, walking around the area, when he healed the sick, when he healed the blind of their blindness, when he delivered people of their palsy, when he caused the dead to be raised. People who do not have Christ, don't belong to him. They're dead in their sins. Christ still raises people from the dead. If you are dead, Lazarus, come forth. If you are blind, let him touch you with his word, that you may begin to see again. He can heal you of your blindness. Okay? All right. There you go. Sludge Report for July 29th. Like I said, probably the most important one. It is one of the most important ones because the whole original reason I started this channel is because I have discovered several things regarding the Thousand Oaks shooting that I'm going to put together and put out there if I can get it anywhere instead of just the one or two people who maybe watch this video. And you will see that there's a lot of puzzling evidence beyond what even's been out there. If you've ever been interested in this kind of thing and you've seen it, I guarantee you the things that I'm going to show you that I've never seen a video or any other commentator, who many of them are very good and very astute, that they didn't put it together. And that'll happen eventually. Sometime. What do I think? I'm going to put it out there and then all of a sudden that the world's going to go, oh, it was, that was completely staged. No, just there's overwhelming evidence 9/11 was an inside job. In fact, most people apparently are starting to come around to that, majority-wise. But it's never reached the level where we've got a new investigation where we're saying no, we're demanding that now as a people. We're going to revolt if you don't straighten this out. It wasn't just 3,000 people that died. Millions have died. 1 million, let's say. Iraq. What about all the first responders dying? Still dying. living miserable lives because of being lied to about what was going on down there, toxicity-wise, But the evidence is overwhelming that it was a black ops event. Overwhelming. And people are even starting to see it. But no matter how many great documentaries and great presentations and clear evidence there is, and how many conferences there are and groups involved and clubs and people that get together and pool their resources, nothing ever happens. Why? Because the powers that shouldn't be, and they're really powerful. And you have to be willing really to lay down your life. Well, my life is in the Lord's hands, and no man can take it from me except he gives them permission. And you and I both we have to have that mindset, or you are not a threat. You are not a threat to the kingdom of darkness very much at all. Satan goes around seeking whom he may devour. He has to have permission, or either you're giving him permission or the Lord's permission. When the Lord says it's time for me to die, it's time for me to die. He didn't spare his own son. Remember that? Remember the context of what I'm saying. He didn't spare his own son. Are we greater than our master? Is the servant greater than his master? That's Bible. No, we're not. We need to be prepared to be a sacrifice for the glory of God. And stand fast in what is true and right, All right, and never forget. Also, the context is I'm just a man. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not mansplaining. I'm not talking down in any way. I'm only sharing what I've got. It's yielding myself to doing something that I believe I've been, led to do here lately. Didn't think I'd be doing one this morning. It's been all morning. I need to get about my busy day now. But this has been, I believe, a worthy cause. Hopefully, if this video is taken down and my channel shut down or whatever, don't worry. I'll find a way to preserve it. I have it. They don't have it. They have a copy of it. That's all. All right. May God richly bless you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. It's there for us to take. Okay. All right. Make a great day.